The World Cup quarterfinals roll on yesterday. France defeated Morocco 2-0. Spain takes on Belgium today at 3. Over the weekend, Norway will play England at 5 tomorrow, and Argentina plays Switzerland tomorrow at 9. In other news, Christian Pulisic's injury has been revealed. He's been diagnosed with a microfracture and bone bruise of the tibia and fibula in his right leg. In the NHL, the Ducks matched the offer sheet for Leo Carlsson yesterday, signing him to a 5-year, $90 million deal. A trade on pause in the NBA that would send Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers to the Raptors. It will not be completed until the NBA's investigation into Leonard's sponsorship agreement with Aspiration is completed. Around the NFL, Bleacher Report's James Palmer reports Shedeur Sanders has, quote, closed the gap on Deshaun Watson. And in baseball, the Yankees, they beat the Rays 12-4. The Red Sox beat the White Sox 2-1. And the Mets, they beat the Royals 7-3. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Jeremy White and Joe DiBiase.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Did you see the soft serve chocolate ice cream cone in a toilet one that they have?
I have not
I'll
seen
have to show you that
that. Cannot be real.
What? No, it's real.
That
It's
absolutely
real.
cannot be real.
I saw it.
You sure about that?
I've been fooled
Fake.
by the internet.
No.
Get got.
That's right. Reset the counter.
Man, I'm usually good at not the Mariners do not have a big dumper Sunday, which is what it is.
Dumper Sunday. What are you doing? Reading books?
On WGR.
I stand by that being defensible, that it could have existed.
I mean, it's possible.
It is possible.
It seems pretty
Hold
grotesque when you really sit down.
Chocolate ice cream in
think
a
about
mini
it.
toilet.
Yeah, I don't know. There are crazy things that people eat now, but that would feel to me like it would be maybe one step too far.
I'm doing the check, just, No, what's funny? I type in, what do you think I typed in to figure out, if this has happened since I was fooled by the internet? What did I Google?
Toilet bowl Sunday?
Yes, exactly. But I did attach minor league baseball to the end.
Okay, good.
And this is a good way to tell that it has not happened because the number one result is an Instagram video from WGR Sports Radio 550. Me getting fooled by an AI Big Dumper Sunday. Okay, wait a minute. There might be something similar because, again, this could be. I want to triple check before I go all the way in on this. This is the Kansas City Star. Okay, this has got to be real. That the AAA Omaha Storm have famously. Not that famously because I didn't know about it when I got fooled, served an ice cream kitty litter Sunday, 6:03. That's similar.
That's also really disgusting.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know how that might be worse to me.
That's the annual take me out to the ball game night. So it's an annual Sunday they offer. It is soft served ice cream and chocolate syrup on a bed of crushed graham cracker litter and rainbow sprinkles.
Sure. Okay.
Typically served in a souvenir litter box. Okay.
If it's a one-time event thing for the litter box, respect. But I just can't imagine that being a constant item.
There are restaurants, by the way. I'm reading this New York Post article right now. A chain of toilet-themed restaurants in Taiwan, single-handedly demolishing the old adage, you don't blank where you eat. Modern Toilet celebrates, it's Modern Toilet, it's called.
Jeez.
And they have a chocolate sundae in a toilet bowl.
Wow.
That they sell regularly.
And it's not AI?
No, there's somewhere in the world that does what you said, Joe.
But
all right.
this is
not the Mariners.
Right, but this is a toilet-dedicated restaurant.
It sounds like
not
that.
just an
Good
item
point.
available at
what
a
else they
baseball
have.
game. It's not being served next to a hot dog.
Right.
For example, which might be a pretty bad example.
Yeah, but you got to think it could have been, as much as it is AI and we got, right?
I got God.
You got God.
You guys don't have to lump yourself.
Okay,
in.
all right.
You are all
I
pretty
just
quick
didn't
to. This is not real.
I didn't want to lay you down on the sword there, but they put stuff in helmets, so like why would it wouldn't be out of the question for something like that to exist, especially in today's
AAA baseball
environment. Yeah.
Sure, with the Savannah Bananas doing all they're doing and whatever.
The cosmic baseball stuff.
Get away with a little bit.
Yeah, baseball is silly now.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's a
It's meant to be. It's meant to be fun and fun around a game that sometimes was called boring 10, 15 years ago, which I think is less boring because they pitch clocked it and it's quicker and I think there's more scoring now. So like I feel like they're in a healthy place, and part of that is because I think the sport doesn't take itself as seriously as they did 25 years ago.
I think that's right. My favorite thing about watching baseball is turning a game on and like for whatever reason, pitchers to me are always hilarious characters. And there's often like just weird look. Like there's just guys with crazy looks going on.
Oh, yeah.
Like the other night I was watching a game. I maybe it was the Twins. And they had some dude up there. And his story was like he was playing ball in like not even a pro like A-League. Like he was playing like Federation ball and got signed to a deal and like just became a story and like got up there and was good and whatever. But he's just this guy. He's got this long, greasy hair. He's got these sport goggles on and the tightest pants you've ever seen on, like, the most dad bod guy you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And, like, the characters in baseball, to me, are always very entertaining just to watch. And, like, Peyton Tolle is a Red Sox pitcher right now.
Oh, that guy's insane.
Who is hilarious. And, like, just looks wise. Big, he's like my size. He's wide, huge dude.
He's got a mustache,
and,
right?
Yeah,
crazy,
big mustache.
hardcore fireman mustache, and like just pitchers to me are always like caricatures of baseball players.
Yeah.
I find that very entertaining.
Yeah, they always kind of have the story or the weird, I guess,
look.
Yes, they have something to them that the other players don't.
Something in their wind up that you're like, what is going on with that?
They're throwing
dude?
totally horizontally,
Yeah.
like sidearm, some weird stuff going on. Yeah,
It's the best.
Still don't
I
understand
really
how
love
people
it.
do that.
Give me the personality. Max Scherzer was pitching rehab with the Bisons. Was that yesterday?
Yes.
I know it was this week. And maybe there's one more of those coming, but I'm not sure. I know he's down with the Bisons right now.
Yeah, Mad Max.
41 years old, and he is he is still going. Not to. I want to get to the Bills here in a moment, but baseball. I am a very fair weather Blue Jays fan. So last year, baseball was like on my radar a lot. It was fun. It was great. The playoffs and them going to the World Series, getting to go to a World Series game. Yeah. You could almost compare this to the World Cup. Yesterday, I saw the World Cup. Richard Deitch pointing out the numbers for both USA against Belgium and also Mexico, England. Because if you include Telemundo, which is in the United States, the ratings of that in the U.S., England, Mexico beat Belgium, U.S.
Yeah.
But either way, both ratings were monsters for those two games. And he asked the question that I'm sure everybody's going to ask, which we do every 4 years. Will there be carryover? Will soccer, the Premier League, the MLS, whoever, see a big bump because everyone's got the World Cup fever? And it usually doesn't last very long. Like, usually it fades. Maybe some fans stick around, and you only need to, catch a certain amount of people, and it's a plus. But for me, I thought that'd be baseball for me. Like, the Blue Jays run was so great, so entertaining, so dramatic at the end, heartbreaking. I didn't think I would care if they lost in the World Series. I thought I'd feel great if they won it, but it would be like a bonus because it's not a team I really live and die with year to year.
Yeah.
I like them when they're good, and if they're not good, I kind of check out on them. So I thought if they win, it'll be great, and if they lose, whatever. And the couple of times I've gone to Toronto since then, I drive past the stadium, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's still like get a pit in my stomach because they were there. They were an out away,
Yeah,
right?
It was the
guy's foot was off the guy's foot was off the base right at home plate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like an inch. They were so close to winning the World Series in a dramatic World Series against the Dodgers and Ohtani and and that is not carried over for me at all. But again, part of that is they're just not good.
Right.
They're bad this year.
Yeah, they're not.
Especially with all the games you have in baseball, if they're just not performing, there's no reason to turn it on.
Sometimes maybe you just think something like that in sports is going to carry over. Like, oh, I like this thing now.
Right.
F1, I thought I'd love it for a long time because I watched the documentary and I got into it for that one season, and then it had the craziest finish ever between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, and then, oh, that's not what normally happens in the sport, and oh, now the same guy's going to win it, and like,
Yeah.
haven't checked in on it in probably like 3 years.
That's exactly where I'm at as well.
With F1?
I will turn it on. Sometimes I turn the TV on. There's nothing else on. I'm like, oh, there's an F1 race on. Great. I'll watch that. And it's still pretty lame.
You don't stick with it?
It's just not the cars have changed too. Like it's just there's not as much passing.
Yeah?
And it's just not as exciting.
Not as
was.
much passing. What's the point?
They're I don't know.
Right.
They've been trying to change the regulations to like kind of fix it, but it's
Right.
they made the cars sort of too. They can't follow another car effectively enough. Like they kind of get caught up in dirty air, I guess, and it slows them down and you can't catch people. It's pretty horrible.
They're imprisoned if they start drafting. Pretty much.
That may be rectified even now. I haven't once again watched a ton recently, but I know that was a big like. We can't do anything in these cars, guys. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
So, but baseball, I had a reawakening with baseball last summer because I went to Fenway for the first time.
Right.
And it was like going to like I'm not a churchgoer. It was like going to church for the first time and like feeling like you get it all of a sudden.
It's like a spiritual experience.
Yeah, it was like that. And I've been huge on the Red Sox ever since. I really enjoy watching them and watching baseball. And the Red Sox have been blistering.
I was going to say, that's credit to you because they have the same record or the same win percentage as the Blue Jays do. And I'm telling you, like, I'm out. Like,
yeah, well, I got to tell you.
I'm checking out.
They have been super hot. They've won a ton of games. They were horrible to start the year, and now they're like close to 500 again.
Yeah, 43 and 48.
Like, I'm like, are they going to figure this out and get good here? Because that would be kind of cool.
That is some drought bill stuff, though, isn't it? Like getting hot to get to 43 and 48.
That's exactly right.
The miracle run to get to 7 and 9 at the end and in the hunt graphic.
Right, but it's the Red Sox, which is a little more like,
right.
Why can't you figure this out? You have all the money on the planet.
The Bank of Liverpools, I like to call them.
Yeah,
the Red
exactly.
Sox.
Yeah.
Is that soccer for you? You became a Manchester United fan this year.
Yes.
So that plus the World Cup, like, are you just in now?
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
There's no going
I
back?
love it. No, it's over for me. It's going to be dominating my Sunday mornings now.
Nice.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been super fun to watch. Man U this year was kind of a fun, horrible start. Emerim fired, and then bringing the new guy, it all kind of works, and they get hot at the end, and Champions League. Like it's been fun. So I've really enjoyed it. And then the USA run.
Yeah.
I've been watching a ton of France because I have them, and like watching the best team on the planet will kind of make you enjoy the sport a little bit. So that's fun. So yeah, it's been awesome.
How do we feel about calling USA? Is it a run? Was it a run?
I don't think you can call it a run if you win one knockout game.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about run. They
It's more of a run than they've had in the past, I guess, right?
Yeah, right. Like I need more than one knockout round win. Like was this how much do you need for it to be a run? It's got to go into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yes.
In any like did the Sabres go on a run?
I would call the Sabres thing a run.
Yeah, they've won a
Okay.
playoff series.
Also, it's 7-game series, which is a little different to me. Like that
Right.
makes it a different like. You could
Right.
even. I would maybe make fun of you, but you could call a one series playoff run a run.
The Bills? Have the Bills gone on a run? Was last
Only
year
the AFC
The
championship.
AFC Championship, yeah. The two times
All right.
they've done that, you can consider those runs.
So
would say those are
football,
runs.
you got to get to the AFC Championship. Hockey round 2? How about
Yeah.
late in round 2?
Yeah, like you're duking it out in round 2.
I like that because did Philly go on a run?
No.
No.
Yeah,
They-
no, I
they
don't.
beat
Right,
Pittsburgh and then got steamrolled.
It's a good example to bring up because they made the same round as the Sabres, and I hesitated to say they went on a run.
If you asked those two teams and organizations, like, how did you feel about the way your season ended? Like, your last playoff series, how'd it go?
Yeah.
Philly's like, we got killed.
Yeah.
And the Sabres are like, we were a millimeter away from winning the series and moving on to the Eastern Conference Final.
Right.
That's a very different, to be, result, or I guess it's not the different result. It's the same result, but different routes. Football,
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it in any context because it is only a couple of games. however you do it. But I do want to get to some Bills. Do we determine, Joe, where you're at? You're Brighton and Hove? Is that where you ended up on the Premier League? Did you pick a team?
No, Tottenham.
Tottenham.
Yeah.
Ended up on Tottenham.
I'm excited. I'm actually, like what you're saying, you want to parlay the big event into the fandom of the regular season.
Yeah.
I'm ready to do that with the
Yeah.
Premier League. I'm excited about this. So,
Well, good luck to you with
Yeah.
Tottenham.
you know, I'm a drought guy. I grew up in 2 droughts. Might as well just keep it going.
You're
right?
in at the perfect time.
Yeah.
They couldn't get worse. I think. If they get worse, then they're relegated, and you'll have to find their games on like Hulu 3
Oh, man.
or something. Also,
Be
you
on
might
Tubi.
you might get Balogun because
That's true.
Balogun is one of the reported teams. Some Jersey potential there.
That would be pretty sweet if you were able to do that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
If you get Balogun on your team that you decided to root for before the tournament, and then you get Balogun, like that would be pretty fun.
Fantastic. Yeah, that jersey would be added to my collection 100%.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There was a little bit of Bills news yesterday. It wasn't really directly Bills news. Heard Bulldog and Nate talking about this a little bit yesterday. I do want to do some Bills today. We're within 3 weeks of training camp. Just kind of waiting around for the Sabres to do something. I do want to talk about the Leo Carlson offer sheet matching in a little bit. I'm a little surprised at what ended up happening there, but we'll get to that. But I think the newsworthiest thing here that happened yesterday was just Brandon Cooks making comments. And that is still an idea that is floating out there, and I think has been floating out there. But Cooks was talking with Tim Graham, who's, of course, on the air here during the week. And Cooks said, obviously, Buffalo is the place I'd love to be. I want to prove that to them and have a full offseason with them. Both sides are figuring things out. We'll see, but hopefully something transpires because I love going to training camp. That's where you build that callus. Which is interesting, by the way, because a lot of veteran players in the league will be like, just call me after camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't need to go through training camp.
He wants
But
the experience.
Cooks wants to go through it, and he wants to be a part of it. And all right, here we go. Let's open the show on wide receiver. Let's do it. It's been
go.
far too long on wide receiver. Can the Bills make another move at wide receiver? Could they afford to? Is there an appetite to see one more guy and a guy like this that you'd have to figure out how much you really liked his tenure here? It statistically was not as good as it probably feels. It felt like it went pretty well because he was getting open a lot, and you saw some juice. You saw some speed that the receiving room did not have otherwise. But in 5 regular season games, he caught 5 passes. It was 1 per game. Now, in the playoffs, he caught 5 in 2, but we're not talking about an efficient player at all. Including playoffs, Cooks for the Bills last year on 22 targets had 10 catches for roughly 200 yards. But that's actually not bad with the yardage. Like, you're getting a lot of yards per reception because there's downfield stuff going on with him, but there were also a lot of drops. So I don't know what fans' temperature is on him and also what that would mean to the receiving room. But I think it's a really interesting idea because he multiple times this offseason has openly been talking about, like, he wants to be here. He wants to come back.
Yeah, as soon as the season ended, we played a clip. He was on Good Morning Football talking about Keon Coleman and how he wants to come back to help, like, guide him through and help him out. I don't hate the idea. If he can get down actually catching the football instead of dropping it over 50% of the time on those targets, right? Like, I know it wasn't all drops, but it's either him or it's like Diggs people are talking about. So I think people do have an appetite for another wide receiver in the room. I do. I'd be fine with Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, are you cool with him taking Hardman's spot?
Yeah.
Or Sherfield's spot? Like, that feels like an upgrade, does it not?
Yeah.
And so if you've got one more body that you might trust, if it's 20% more than one of those guys and you get an injury, then good for you. You're in a better position.
Mm-hmm.
So if the guy clearly wants to come back, it's not going to hurt you in any way, really. If it costs you one of those guys, then you got to have that conversation about who you value. But to me, it's something that would make sense if you think, listen, we might need another warm body here that we really maybe trust, or I don't know, do they trust Cooks? That's a question. But
Yeah.
I think he was interesting last year for them and did a lot of good things alongside some of those issues.
Well, he wouldn't be the sole downfield threat anymore either,
Right.
like he was last season. You have DJ Moore now, so maybe he plays better into a complementary piece in that way. So I don't know. It's intriguing for sure. I wouldn't hate it if they did it.
Yeah, I think what's more interesting is who he might replace on the field. Like, I think you're pointing out the right names for who he might replace on the roster. Like, if he's on the team, who is there not room for? They're not going to keep 7 receivers. So Moore, Palmer, Shakir. I mean, I guess maybe I shouldn't include Palmer so quickly because
that's what I was
Sally's
gonna say.
even said with us, like, it's not a guarantee he makes the roster if he can't get healthy, get on the field during training camp and whatnot. Coleman is, of course, been subject to lots of talk and rumors about whether they would still look to move him. And I still feel like that is possible. But I think if you've gone into it this long, someone's got to step up with the offer that's going to make it worth trading him, or they seem intent on holding on to him. Like, if someone came today with a 3rd-round pick for him, I think you jump at that. Anything else, maybe they're saying, nah, we're just going to keep going here.
No.
Skylar Bell's a rookie. You just drafted him. He's not going anywhere. And then I guess there's room after that for Cooks. But who is Cooks taking routes away from? Whose role is he really replaced? Because in that way, it does feel like Palmer.
Yeah, it does.
Because Moore is going to do everything. Shakir is going to play in the slot. Palmer's role is kind of the field stretcher outside guy. And I think Cooks, if you looked at the 2 players last year, this says a lot. I think about the Palmer signing, by the way. You signed the guy to a 3-year deal, $11 million per year. Cooks was a free agent off the street in November. And who looked more dangerous? Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Right.
Looked more dangerous.
And with Palmer, like, I mentioned it when I made my first point about this. Like, if you have an injury, I mean, what are we expecting other than that out of Palmer this year?
Exactly.
And if you think that you want to have a guy that you think is really filling the exact same role with maybe a little more consistency in availability and maybe even in terms of getting open, then I think Cooks is absolutely a thing you got to look at. Because if Palmer's going to go down and you're worried about that role, his spot, then I think Cooks is a perfect step in because we saw that happen exactly last year.
Mm-hmm. To your point, it's either, thinking in December or November of this season, it's either Khalil Shakir, DJ Moore, and whoever you pick off of, whoever you pick up to replace an injured Josh Palmer, or it's Khalil Shakir, DJ Moore, and Brandon Cooks, who you signed at training camp, who's been in your program for the entire season. Option two sounds better than option 1.
What I just really want from the Bills, and I think Cooks being here at the beginning of the year would probably help this to be true. What I would like to see happen this season that has not happened, or I guess has happened the last 2 years, would be let's not have it so that we get to trade deadline time, we get to November, and the Bills are so desperate at wide receiver that they need to go add somebody, and that is like it has to happen. Because and then the guy comes in and has a major role right away. Cook's coming in as a street free agent and taking over the receiver room in the way he did said more about the receiver room than it did about what Brandon Cooks is as a player at this point in his career. There are not many other playoff teams. In fact, I'm not sure there was another team heading for the playoffs where that would have even been close to true.
Right.
Like, that he could have just come in and had the role that he did. It would not happen in Denver, New England. It certainly would have happened in Jacksonville, maybe Pittsburgh. Like, Pittsburgh was just Metcalf, so it could have happened there. And in the NFC, looking at the teams that made it last year, Seattle, no. Chicago, no. Philly, no. Carolina, no. LA, no. Niners, no. Packers, no. Like, the Bills were maybe one of only 2 teams that made the playoffs last year that Cooks would have been able to go to and actually play a meaningful role on.
Right.
So get to November and not need like, I got to get somebody. Where, some 35-year-old receiver gets cut and we're talking about it for a week because, I don't know, man, they could really use another guy. The year before it was Amari Cooper. And that's a little different because that was a trade idea, a guy who had been a little bit closer to the big season. And that also cost them a 3rd-round pick. That was a little different. That is an investment that you were making. And they wanted Devontae Adams, right? Like they were big game hunting a receiver at the deadline. But same thing, like you got to the deadline and it was, I didn't do enough here. I don't have the room I want. And I think part of what happened in the last 2 years that got you to that point was their reliance on Keon Coleman. Their role that they had given Keon Coleman without him really earning it. And in both campaigns, Coleman left you wanting or just wasn't available. Year one, it was the injury, and then they didn't like how he came back from the injury. Last year, it was he was late all the time, and then he was getting suspended by the team, and then it was happening again, and they couldn't get him to take it seriously on like at least time management, if not more than that. But he hadn't been playing well either. And it's, okay, well, 2 years in a row, this guy we thought was going to contribute in a big way for us and be a legitimate starting receiver for us. Well, that's not happening. So now we have to go do something else.
Right.
And this year, I don't think that reliance on Coleman is the same going into the year. That is the big key difference when I look at the Cooks idea or any idea that would happen later on down the year. It's kind of like Levi a little bit for this with the Sabres.
Yep.
The Sabres, for the first 2 years Devin Levi was here, just kind of gave him the keys to the car. Like, this is yours. Go ahead. Oh, now he can't do it? Now, okay, well, they at least had Luukkonen. So, like, I've got something else to turn to. But the third year, it's, okay, I need to plan. This hasn't worked 2 times. I need to plan otherwise. I don't need to get rid of the guy. I don't need to dump the guy. I can hang around and see if he becomes something for a little bit, and then if not, I could trade him, which they did. But year 3, I'm not giving you the keys again. And that, to me, is what the Bills are doing with Coleman. Like, you can hang around here, and we'll wait to see if there's more than what we've seen already. But we are not going into the year relying on you in the way that we have in the first 2 years.
Right.
I think the Bills' receiver room is set up right now for that to already be true, thus, in my opinion, probably decreasing the odds that you would need a Brandon Cooks.
Right. That's definitely, I think, true. And I also just think that the fact that the expectations now are so vastly different than they ever have been from outside the organization for Coleman as well, that the team won't have pressure to, like, well, we got to make this work with this guy. Because at this point, if it works out with this guy, it's a miracle. And nobody's expecting you to make it work. It's already written off as a bust and like, oh, this didn't work, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's done. They're getting rid of him. So there's no, well, this guy's our first-round pick. We got to get him out there and force him the ball, which we heard Joe Brady literally say.
Yeah, before the Dolphins game.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that, like,
which
they
lost.
That is gone, I think, now. That there's no longer going to be we have to force the ball to Keon Coleman. If they're forcing the ball to Keon Coleman, it's because, like, something miraculous has happened.
Yeah. Yeah, there was an over-reliance on him, but there had to be. There was no other option for them at the receiver position, like, for the past 2 seasons, really. So, I don't know. I think if he does anything positive, I think it's an okay season for him.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to more on Tim's article from yesterday because there was some interesting McDermott stuff in there on the catch at the end of the Broncos game that was ruled an interception that I've also believed since that play was a catch. I think once the knee is down in the way it is after multiple steps, that should be a catch. It was proven, remember this, I was reminded of this in the article, I'd forgotten. The next day in the playoffs, Devontae Adams had the same play happen to him. And what was it ruled? A catch. And there's some interesting details about McDermott on the plane ride home for the Bills after they lost to Denver that I want to get to when we come back. How McDermott's career and tenure with the Bills ended was in anger, a lot of it. 803-0550 is the phone number. It's Jeremy and Joe. A lot of guests today, but not until the 8 o'clock hour, so we got time for your phone calls at 803-0550. Marty Baron is going to join us at 8 a.m. Get him in on Connor Hellebuck and whether he thinks the Sabres offseason might be done here. We did line combos yesterday. We talked about the Cup a lot yesterday. We'll get Marty in on that. Nick Mendola at 8:30, the quarterfinals, France winning yesterday, and we'll look ahead to the other teams. Also, the Pulisic story, new development on what his injury is. We'll talk about that with Nick. And then at 9 o'clock, let me make it a little Fantasy Friday. Just a little bit. Marcus Mosher from Locked On Dynasty also covers the Cowboys. He's going to join to talk a little bit about fantasy because him and Michael Fabiano, who do that show together, they just did a long episode on the AFC East, and they really got into it on the Bills. So we'll do a lot of Bills with Marcus, but not till 9 a.m. So plenty of time for your phone calls. It's Joe DiBiase. Jeremy is off this morning. It's Jeremy and Joe here on WGR.
The World Cup quarterfinals roll on. Yesterday, France defeated Morocco 2-0. Spain takes on Belgium today at 3. Over the weekend, Norway plays England at 5 tomorrow, and Argentina plays Switzerland tomorrow at 9. In other news, Christian Pulisic's injury has been revealed. He's been diagnosed with a microfracture and bone bruise in the tibia and fibula in his right leg. In the NHL, the Ducks matched the offer sheet for Leo Carlsson yesterday, signing him to a 5-year, $90 million deal. In a trade on pause in the NBA that would send Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers to the Raptors. It will not be completed until the NBA's investigation into Leonard's sponsorship agreement with Aspiration is completed. Around the NFL, Bleacher Report's James Palmer reports Shedeur Sanders has, quote, closed the gap on Deshaun Watson. And in baseball, the Yankees beat the Rays 12-4. The Red Sox, they beat the White Sox 2-1. And the Mets, they beat the Royals 7-3. That's your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
What I'm saying it because I'm standing up for Buffalo, damn it. I'm standing up for us. Because what went on is not how it should go down, in my estimation. That play, these guys spent 3 hours out there playing football, pouring their guts out, to not even say, hey, let's just slow this thing down. That's why I'm bothered.
That was the walk-off for Sean McDermott's Bills career. It's Jeremy and Joe. Good morning. It looks like it's gonna rain. It's gotta rain, right? Sometimes you look up in the sky and I don't even need to check the app, and it's not raining right now. But I know it'll be pretty wet, especially Southern Tier and whatnot. I'm supposed to golf in the Southern Tier.
It's today. A tough scene, then. Yeah,
that's tough.
I saw flash flooding.
I saw. I think I might have saw severe thunderstorm warning. Was maybe what I saw.
I did. Alexa alerted me when I woke up this morning that there's a severe thunderstorm.
Yeah, shut up.
Says only 3 p.m. We're expecting rain though now. And then it gets sunny after.
All right, so good for everybody before that. I was gonna say that's a 1 p.m. tea time.
Yeah,
that's smack dab in the middle of it.
Oh no!
Yikes!
On McDermott there though, and we'll take your phone calls at 803-0550. Dennis, if you hang on for 1 second, we'll get to you here. I do want to start with this because teased it going in, and then I watched I hadn't watched it in a while. Cooks talked about it yesterday, the catch that was ruled an interception by Jaquan McMillan of the Broncos. I was adamant the next day, and have been since. I think that's a catch every day of the week. I think that when I watch that play, here's how my mind goes on it, especially the back camera angle. Which is, by the way, where the line judge, I guess not a line judge, the back judge, is determining whether or not it's a catch. Brandon Cooks jumps into the air. He has the ball. Okay, comes down. Right foot down. That's 1. Left foot down. That's 2. Left knee down.
Play's over.
Play is over.
Call it there.
I thought the knee counted for 2, by the way.
Right.
Isn't that true in other instances?
Yes.
It's like 4. And then he lands on his left shoulder. He still has it. Only now is McMillan even beginning to wrestle it away.
Play should be over yet again.
2 steps and a left knee, and you could argue the shoulder. It's only when he rolls to his back that the ball starts to be in contention. And listen, I know there's the surviving the ground thing, but I thought that was... And I think this was proven in plays that happened immediately after in the league. Surviving the ground when you haven't gotten 2 steps and a knee down, right?
Right.
That's surviving the ground. Is you land. And to me, Cooks didn't land. And I know it happened fast, but this is part of what McDermott was mad about is they didn't review it, and they only claim they reviewed it after McDermott called a timeout. And that is what is really doubled down on in this Cooks article that Tim Graham wrote. You should check it out. It's at The Athletic.
Yeah, it's really good. I read it yesterday too.
Yeah, all about Cooks and wanting to be here and the end of the season, going to Josh on the plane ride home and thanking him for believing in him. There's a lot of good details in here. But I really am most interested in just the end for McDermott. And this is not the way I ever would have thought his Bills tenure would have ended. I mean, I didn't think it would end in the first place.
I don't think any of us did.
But McDermott, I mean, what's in here is that McDermott was just irate on the plane ride home. And we know that he called and talked to Jay Skursky about what had happened after and ranted and raved about the process at the end, that Carl Sheffers and his crew they didn't look at it. The Broncos were about to snap the ball, and the feeling that the league didn't really take a good look at it. They just went with the call on the field. And that could have been that they were in overtime and there was another game about to start, wasn't there? Remember, that was like a part of this, and it just felt gross. It felt the process of it felt gross.
Right. Even if you can get to the result being okay, the whole process of the thing it felt really weird and sketchy. And like in this age where we take 3 hours to look at every single play that we do video review for, this like maybe the most critical play you could have in a football game possible.
Yes.
Aside from if he caught it in the end zone, which in that case it probably would have been a play over as well. But that not being sort of really broken down and like, let's make sure we nail this because this is the game here. We are deciding the game. That is, I think, where that frustration that McDermott, reportedly had came bubbling out of. Like, it's very, very difficult to wrap your head around that when you think about the way that sports work now. Mm-hmm. And if I was a coach and had to deal with the challenges and the reviews and all that stuff all the time, and I knew how important it was, and in that spot, I got what I thought was a short look. Yeah, I would be just as mad, if not more, than McDermott was, and probably still is in some way.
I wonder how bitter he is that is also the play that ended it.
Gotta be. I mean, like it's got to be bitter.
I mean, not everybody gets this. In fact, 99% of figures in sports don't get this. The idea of going out on top, like it does not almost ever happen. Something at the end that is not a good memory is what you get fired on. And that's true here. But, man, McDermott was not somebody that really lost his temper in the public eye like that very often, if not ever.
He barely showed any kind of emotion in the public eye. He was always very stoic.
And we saw it on the sideline. We saw it after the game. We see it anytime somebody talks about the plane ride home or what happened after. He was just incensed that play was called an interception and was not reviewed in the proper manner.
Right.
And maybe part of that is he felt that it was coming. Right? Like,
I'm sure.
Okay, this is how my tenure in Buffalo ends? Really? Like, if he knew or thought he knew that could have been the end, then that could only ramp up the amount of,
even if you just think
anger
it's a
that you would have in the moment.
possibility.
Yeah, I think that's why the clip we played, I think that's why he's as spirited as he is on the topic, right? Yeah, he's frustrated it happened, but also I think you have to have an inkling, like, I think it might be over.
So, do people go back and watch that a lot? Like, I don't. I just did for the first time in a long time this morning.
I had to, like, last week because I had family friends in from out of town that wanted to talk about it, so I had to reopen
You
that
had to
wound.
Wait, so would you put it on the big screen and just, like, slow-mo'd it?
Yeah, they asked me. They're like, was it a catch? And I think it was a catch. Yeah, so I did exactly what you just did. I freeze-framed it and walked him through it.
Let's all watch
and his
it
entire
together.
body is down pretty much before the ball pops out. So
it was not unanimous from everybody that thought the next morning that it was a catch.
No.
I think that most people did. I tried to stay as objective on it as possible. I was also bitter the day after, And today, it's the same thing to me. Just like, what am I looking for? And I've got 2 feet and a knee before the ball is ever in contention. That, to me, in the NFL, should be a catch, and it was proven after that it should be that it was a catch.
Mm-hmm. The thing I see the most,
plays,
the thing I see the most is he should have just held onto the ball, and then we wouldn't even have this conversation. I agree with that,
and that is where like that was always there. That took away from. Well, it was a catch, but. That's because, the context of what Cooks had done to that point. And this could be, by the way, an argument as to why you wouldn't want him back.
Yes.
How reliable is he? He's a veteran player. You have to worry about some of the stuff that, you would worry about with, like, Keon Coleman. But last season, on 22 targets, it was only 10 catches. And a lot of that was drops.
Yeah.
He's only listed with 3, but I thought I remembered the number 5. For some reason, maybe it depends where you look on that, or also how big of the plays there were. There was one against Philadelphia that was down the field, like big plays. I mean, this Denver play is a 40-yard catch that puts them into field goal range. Like the yardage lost on drops last year from Brandon Cooks. I mean, he has not really had that problem in his career. That is where I would want to believe that might have just been a fluke. That if he were to sign with the Bills right now and play all year for them and have, what do you have in Dallas? 54 targets. He had 54 targets the year before in Dallas. If he were to have that sort of role, which is not even that big a role, that he's not going to be dropping balls left and right. Because you look back at his career, and in his career, his drop percentage in the NFL, his NFL career, is 3.3%. Yeah. So that's since they've been. No, I guess that's his entire career. 3.3% is his drop percentage. Last year with the Bills was 18.
Oh, man.
So that 3.3% is brought up a little bit by the 18.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to get regression to the mean there.
Yeah.
Right.
He's not going to have an 18% drop percentage again. And that would be something that I would look at and say, well, that's not a reason not to sign him. I think signing him would be fine. Bringing him to camp would be fine on a 1-year deal and just go from there. 803-0550. Let's squeak Dennis in before we hit the break. What's up, Dennis?
Hey, so I was calling about Keon Coleman, and then you guys started on this topic, and I was going to chime in on this.
Go ahead.
It's funny because you guys just said exactly what I was going to say. Is the fact that Brandon Cooks comes in the middle of the season, and he quite literally got open deep once per game, and he was literally throwing the ball once per game, and he literally dropped it once per game. And it was just like, it was so frustrating because we didn't have a deep threat up to that point. And then we get a guy that can do it, and when you actually go to it, when you need it, it was a nightmare, like every time. And then in the playoffs, there he is again, and he actually catches it, and then he gives it to the other guy. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I was so annoyed with Cooks. Sure, he's a great guy and all that, but I kind of just want to walk away from the whole Brandon Cooks thing. I mean, the drop percentage in his career, I think a lot of that is he wasn't always just a downfield threat guy. He caught a lot of screens and some short yardage passing, which is, I mean, catching bombs is not easy. You got to track it over your shoulder and maybe not everybody's cut out for it. I don't know if maybe that's his thing, but I'd like to get somebody else. But with that being said, the Keon Coleman thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Just that, it seemed to be common knowledge for some reason that he was always late, and that was the reason why he was benched. But if I can recall, there was one time I feel like Sean McDermott actually addressed it specifically, and somebody said, is this because he's late to meetings? And he just kind of unbelievably said yes. And I just feel like there's way more there. I don't think that he just got benched for half the season because he was late to a few meetings or something. I think it's got to be deeper than that. So I'm not really sure. I don't really buy that as the answer. So
yeah, thanks Dennis for the call and waiting on hold. I'm with you that I think there was more to it. I don't think that you should discount the amount of times a guy could be late. before you're starting to see it become disciplinary. Like, no, that absolutely was the catalyst to that. But I think it was made a lot easier for them, and maybe they would have done it anyway, even without him being late, that he would get benched because his play wasn't going well at all. They were throwing him back shoulders that weren't working. He was non-existent in the offense before he was getting benched. So, yeah, I think play. Simply. Like, I never had a problem with him off the field. I was calling for him to be taken off the field before that because he just wasn't playing well. That's it. And I'm hoping now, he worked with Stevie Johnson all offseason, route running. Maybe he plays a little bit more in the slot. I mean, I don't think it can go worse on the field than it did. So, if there is any growth to happen, I think on the field should be treated as almost an equal to off the field. Thanks for the call. World Cup of Joe coming up at 7 o'clock. Dip our toes into the World Cup a little bit. And if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to you on receiver Brandon Cooks, the catch at the end of the year, revisiting that a little bit here on WGR. Cooks was talking with Tim Graham, who's, of course, on the air here during the week. And Cooks said, obviously, Buffalo is the place I'd love to be. I want to prove that to them and have a full offseason with them. Both sides are figuring things out. We'll see, but hopefully something transpires because I love going to training camp. That's where you build that callus. Which is interesting, by the way, because a lot of veteran players in the league will be like, just call me after camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't need to go through training camp.
He wants the experience.
Cooks wants to go through it, and he wants to be a part of it. And all right, here we go. So let's open the show on wide receiver. Let's do it. It's been far too long on wide receiver. Can the Bills make another move at wide receiver? Could they afford to? Is there an appetite to see one more guy, and a guy like this that you'd have to figure out how much you really liked his tenure here? It statistically was not as good as it probably feels. It felt like it went pretty well because he was getting open a lot, and you saw some juice. You saw some speed that the receiving room did not have otherwise. But in 5 regular season games, he caught 5 passes. It was 1 per game. Now, in the playoffs, he caught 5 in 2, but we're not talking about an efficient player at all. Including playoffs, Cooks for the Bills last year on 22 targets had 10 catches for roughly 200 yards. But that's actually not bad with the yardage. Like, you're getting a lot of yards per reception because there's downfield stuff going on with him, but there were also a lot of drops. So I don't know what fans' temperature is on him and also what that would mean to the receiving room. But I think it's a really interesting idea because he multiple times this offseason has openly been talking about, like, he wants to be here. He wants to come back.
Yeah, as soon as the season ended, we played a clip. He was on Good Morning Football talking about Keon Coleman and how he wants to come back to help, like, guide him through and help him out. I don't hate the idea. If he can get down actually catching the football instead of dropping it over 50% of the time on those targets, right? Like, I know it wasn't all drops, but it's either him or it's like Diggs people are talking about. So I think people do have an appetite for another wide receiver in the room. I do. I'd be fine with Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, are you cool with him taking Hardman's spot?
Yeah.
Or Sherfield's spot? Like, that feels like an upgrade, does it not?
Yeah.
And so if you've got one more body that you might trust, if it's 20% more than one of those guys, and you get an injury, then good for you. You're in a better position.
Mm-hmm.
Got to go right back to break here. Joe, hang on hold. We'll get to you in the 7 o'clock hour if you can hang around. Super quickly here. Kawhi Leonard, the trade to Toronto, is off for right now. And I think
on hold.
Yeah. There's a Pablo Torre who's been all over that story. He broke that story about the cap circumvention. Basically, Kawhi asked the Raptors to do the thing the Clippers did. He wants a big endorsement deal, and he doesn't want to do anything for it. And the Raptors reported it to the NBA. And they didn't do anything. So then Kawhi left, and he went to the Clippers because the Clippers gave him that. And the NBA's telling the Raptors and Clippers, you're not allowed to do this trade because there is going to be punishment coming. And the only way, they told the Raptors, I was reading about this morning, you can make this trade, but then you assume all the consequences. And what, of course, did the Raptors say? Like, no way. We're not doing that. So we'll see where that goes. When we come back, World Cup of Joe, your calls on the Bills at receiver. Did they do enough? Are we good? Want one more? Is Brandon Cooks the one more? Let me know what you think here in WGR. They wanted Devontae Adams, right? Like they were big game hunting a receiver at the deadline. But same thing, like you got to the deadline and it was, I didn't do enough here. I don't have the room I want. And I think part of what happened in the last 2 years that got you to that point was their reliance on Keon Coleman. Their role that they had given Keon Coleman without him really earning it. And in both campaigns, Coleman left you wanting or just wasn't available. Year one, it was the injury, and then they didn't like how he came back from the injury. Last year, it was he was late all the time, and then he was getting suspended by the team, and then it was happening again, and they couldn't get him to take it seriously on like at least time management, if not more than that. But he hadn't been playing well either. And it's, okay, well, 2 years in a row, this guy we thought was going to contribute in a big way for us and be a legitimate starting receiver for us. Well, that's not happening. So now we have to go do something else.
Right.
And this year, I don't think that reliance on Coleman is the same going into the year. That is the big key difference when I look at the Cooks idea or any idea that would happen later on down the year. It's kind of like Levi a little bit for this with the Sabres.
Yep.
The Sabres, for the first 2 years Devin Levi was here, just kind of gave him the keys to the car. Like, this is yours. Go ahead. Oh, now we can't do it? Now, okay, well, they at least had Luukkonen. So, like, I've got something else to turn to. But the third year, it's, okay, I need to plan. This hasn't worked 2 times. I need to plan otherwise. I don't need to get rid of the guy. I don't need to dump the guy. I can hang around and see if he becomes something for a little bit, and then if not, I could trade him, which they did. But year 3, I'm not giving you the keys again. And that, to me, is what the Bills are doing with Coleman. Like, you can hang around here, and we'll wait to see if there's more than what we've seen already. But we are not going into the year relying on you in the way that we have in the first 2 years.
Right.
The World Cup quarterfinals roll on. Yesterday, France defeated Morocco 2-0. Spain takes on Belgium today at 3. Over the weekend, Norway plays England at 5 tomorrow, and Argentina plays Switzerland tomorrow at 9. In other news, Christian Pulisic's injury has been revealed. He's been diagnosed with a microfracture and bone bruise of the tibia and fibula in his right leg. In the NHL, the Ducks matched the offer sheet for Leo Carlsson yesterday, signing him to a 5-year, $90 million deal, and a trade on pause in the NBA that would send Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers to the Raptors will not be completed until the NBA's investigation into Leonard's sponsorship agreement with Aspiration is completed. And around the NFL, Bleacher Report's James Palmer reports Shedeur Sanders has, quote, closed the gap on Deshaun Watson. And in baseball, the Yankees, they beat the Rays 12-4. The Red Sox beat the White Sox 2-1. And the Mets, they beat the Royals 7-3. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I think that failure landed on the heads of McDermott and Bean and Brady and everyone. So the fact that it turned into more of a palace coup, that was kind of eye-opening, and a lot of good things are being said about Jim Leonard. I'm impressed generally from Jim Leonard. It was either time for continuity or time for change. I don't think they really did the continuity right or did the change right. I think this was an opportunity for some of the people in the front office there and in the coaching staff to assess blame to somebody else and then feather their own nest.
Mike Tenure. Check out his interview with Chopin Bulldog and Nate yesterday. He's one of many that's pretty optimistic about the Bills' chances this year. I got a question on that for fans in a little bit here. Does this feel any different going into this season, expectation-wise, than previous years? I mean, there's a different head coach at the helm, so I feel like there should be some difference, but I don't know in which direction that would be true. Because for me, it kind of feels the same.
Is it not AFC Championship? Like, they made the move, they pulled the plug on McDermott, right? Like, it has to be an improvement. Is that kind of where we're at?
Yes, but that was always true already.
Sure.
Already it was make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. You have the best quarterback in the world. Your roster isn't really loaded with stars. That's not different.
Yeah.
Your schedule's hard. Their schedule was hard last year.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I have the same expectation, but with maybe a little less confidence that they'll look the same.
Yeah.
I just, you don't know. You got a new coach and a new defensive coordinator, and like McDermott represented a lot of stability for all his flaws. That was his strength. He represented stability here and with this organization, and now you've swung in the polar opposite direction of his entire sort of ethos with Brady. It's a much more laid back, let's be sort of boys here. We're all going to be chill. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go out there and we're just going to play some football. And like, it's a very different vibe. And like, my expectations are exactly the same. Go to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But my faith that they will get there might be 20% less. And that's not because I don't think Joe Brady can be a good coach. It's just I don't know what I'm getting here. And I knew what I was getting out of McDermott every single year, it felt like.
Well, you've even had Jim Leonard already kind of pad the expectations.
Right.
Like, this thing might not be, paraphrasing, of course, 100% ready right away. Like, it might take some time. So are we going to get through 5 games and they're going to be just figuring it out to start with all the new systems and all that? So I don't know. It's hard to not feel confident in them, though, with Josh Allen quarterbacking the team. I guess that's like where I end up, but
yeah.
The expectation's similar.
Just put a poll up on this, and I'm expecting it to come back with I have the same expectations that I've always had. Like, the expectation is this team to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. That's where they live, and you could be less confident in that, though, because almost maybe expectation is the wrong word to use. But I think it is right, but it has a different meaning now. When you say that, it almost thinks like, what do they need to do for me to be happy? And for that, it's make the Super Bowl. Yes. But what do people actually expect going in? Do they expect them to do it? Because I hear a lot of, no, I'm not as sure. Schedule's harder. New England exists now. What did they really do this offseason? They added an overpaid, expensive wide receiver that we're not sure is still good. Like, I don't know. I don't know how much confidence they inspired with what they did this offseason. I think it all has arrived at a point where, with a month to go before preseason games begin, that it feels better than it did in the moment. Both the Brady hire and the DJ Moore trade, the draft pick, if you want that too. But still, like, their offseason in totality, they didn't trade for Myles Garrett, right? They didn't trade for Max Crosby. They didn't go get a superstar. They didn't get Justin Jefferson. Like, there were big hopes and dreams. That's happening a lot around here, right? Like, and I don't think anybody should be at fault for expecting and hoping that the two teams here with championship aspirations and a lot of talent, that you'd be wanting them to go get big star players to help you do that. The Sabres with Hellebuck or Larkin or whoever that they have not added. And the Bills with, it was Garrett for years. It's been Jefferson on and off, even though he's never really been available yet. And others. The Big Fish, the Whale. I'm good. Both. Like, the Sabres are good. The Bills are great. I've got Josh Allen. Where is my
Titan move?
Super team?
Yeah, right.
And at such a high bar, it feels like it's unfair, but I don't know. Like, show me the examples that it actually is easier for the Bills to get players to come here than other teams. And that can be in the trade market. That can be in free agency. They're tied up with money. I know there's reasons why they can't just do it. But, you know, like, since Von Miller came here, which is 5 years ago now, they just don't. The Garretts wanting to come here and coming here. Again, I don't want to even go full on this point because they just tied themselves up on the salary cap that even if a guy did say, I want to go to Buffalo, and I'm talking like high-level players, not like Brandon Cooks wanting to come to Buffalo, like star players, would they be able to get him anyway? They might not be able to because they didn't have. If Myles Garrett wanted to come to the Bills, they still wouldn't have been able to get him.
Right.
They didn't have the package for it.
No, not at all.
803-0550. On receiver expectations for the year, and I got World Cup of Joe coming up for these guys. Joe in Rochester's first up this segment. Hey, Joe.
Hey, good morning, fellas. Before
Morning.
I get to Cooks, as for my expectations, I'm so ready for my heart to be broken again. No, I'm just messing. With the Cooks thing, look, I would be totally fine storing him on the practice squad. I guess I'm a little over the recycled receiver narrative. You know, you had talked about if this guy comes in and you give him 55 targets a year, right? That's 3 targets a game. I would much rather those targets get spread out to Ray Davis on a screen pass. Jackson Hawes is actually a pretty decent receiver option. I know you want the deep option. Shakir's actually got some legs. I don't know. I guess I would much rather trying to have a youth injection rather than trying to recycle Brandon Cooks or, Amari Cooper or whoever it is, just because I think that, those touches are a little more valuable with a Skylar Bell. So Ty Johnson on a swing pass. I don't know. I just think that you could use those targets a little bit better than just seeing what Brandon Cooks has left in the tank. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Thanks, Joe, for the call. I mean, he's a rookie, and he's a 4th-round rookie, so it's not really somebody you want to go into the season relying upon. It's more of this would be great. It'd be a bonus if by training camp's end, Bell has looked so impressive that, you should expect him to contribute this season. I'd love that. And I feel like there's a good chance of that. But I need practices at least, and for me personally, I need more than that. I need preseason. I need regular season. I need games early in the year to tell me he's actually somebody worthy of that. I guess part of the point there would be, though, don't bring Cooks in when he's not on a team yet until you actually need him. Because if Skylar Bell looks like somebody that could give you 30 catches this year on 50 targets, well, okay, thanks for your interest, Brandon Cooks, but yeah, now I don't need you because I have a rookie that's going to do it and hopefully progress. I mean, there are a couple ways to look at it. He was a 4th-round pick. He was a rookie. Not the highest level of prospect. How much do I really want to count on that? He was 1 round different than Justin Shorter, who basically never played in the NFL. On the other hand, he was 2nd in college football last year in receiving yards.
That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
He had 101 catches. There were only 4 players in college football last year that had 100 catches. He was one of them. So, is that the end-all, be-all? No. But that, I'll compare him to Justin Shorter again here. He's a 4th-round pick. Shorter was a 5th-round pick. But all the receivers in those areas are not created equal. All right? Like, what was Justin Shorter as a prospect? He was big, 6'5". He was athletic. He was a really high school recruit, and he had no stats in college.
Tools guy.
No tools guy, exactly. What is Skylar Bell? He's not tools guy, really.
No.
He's production guy. And doesn't production guy generally give me something as a rookie more often than tools guy? Tools guy might have the higher ceiling. That's why they get drafted. He might be more likely to become like a star, but production guy is the one that is going to give me it as a rookie, and that's Skylar Bell.
Right. That's definitely the case. And that to me is like, that would be my biggest argument against a bringing in Cooks would be like, well, don't, at the risk of, you don't want to do that at the risk of blocking out if one of your lottery balls hits. If one of your drafted guys turns into something, you don't want to have that guy unable to climb the depth chart. Not that you can't make that decision, but it gets difficult and awkward even maybe. So that to me would be the number one, like, well, hesitate because you don't want to block the possibility of Bell turning into something. And I think at the draft, like, he was a guy we talked about. It's like, this is interesting. Like, this guy could be something in the later rounds. And, don't take that possibility or that impact off the table for yourself before you get to see if it's there. But you can always just decide, like, hey, sorry, Brandon, but the kid's good and he's got to play. So you're going to be hanging around. If you want to get moved somewhere, let us know. Wouldn't
they have to do that already, in a sense, even without Cooks, with like Palmer? Similar position, right? Like, would that be?
Right. That's maybe the right point to bring up. And I think Sal's in my head, because Sal has said this before, too, about Palmer and injuries and, like, his spot safe. Then maybe Cooks isn't actually your, well, if Skylar Bell's not ready to produce right away for me, then I sign Cooks. Or if Keon Coleman is still not getting it, then that's when Cooks comes in. It could just really be Palmer.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I think.
Coleman, to me, isn't even really a factor unless he earns it. And Bell is a rookie. They're not going to cut him. They're going to carve out some role for him, even if it's really small, just to get his feet wet and get him rolling. Like, his job on the team, I feel like, is pretty secure. It's just whether he can earn more than that. Palmer, I don't know what he is. I don't know what moves they really have at their disposal. If it's evident this is just Curtis Samuel 2.0. And this guy that we signed and had high hopes for with a middle-of-the-road, low-end receiver contract that isn't also cheap, right? $11 million is his cap hit this year. There's not many players on the team with a higher cap hit than that. And, all right, well, we can't rely on you. What should we do? And if you cut Josh Palmer with a post-June 1 designation, as we are now, past June 1, then you would save $2.3 million. That's probably what Brandon Cooks would cost.
Right.
So the money might even out. You just make a decision. The money's going to be the same. What would I rather have on the team right now, Josh Palmer or Brandon Cooks? I think you can make an argument for Brandon Cooks.
I think you can.
You probably have a higher hope for Palmer because he's younger and there would just be more potential in that. He's still only 26 years old. But from what I saw last year, Cooks is the better player. And Cooks has been the better player, right? Like, even in his 30s, Brandon Cooks versus Josh Palmer, it's not that different, but Cooks has been a little bit more consistent, and there's a leadership element with him as well that I think I could get around him being the answer to that question. He still is somehow only 32 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy to
Brandon
me.
Cooks.
Yes.
I know.
He's not that old.
Every time I see that, I'm like, what?
What's the real feel on Brandon Cooks' age?
47.
Right.
Yeah.
He's so old.
I'd say late 30s, early 40s. That's what I think whenever I think of Brandon Cooks. He's like 38.
Yeah, legitimately, probably, I would think. If you asked me that before I had looked at it, probably 36 to 38.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Is he older than Diggs?
Yeah, Diggs is 33,
he's
if I'm not mistaken.
He's 2 months younger than Diggs.
Yeah.
Wow.
So largely the same age. This is going to be a fun game. Who is older than Brandon Cooks? I'm going to find a good answer on that. Jordan in Syracuse is next up. What's up, Jordan?
Hey guys, I think Mike Evans is probably older than
I think
Cooks.
that is almost definitely true. Oh, well, they were the same draft. That might be close.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
2 quick points. One on Brandon Cooks. I think we just sit and wait on Brandon Cooks. He's obviously incentivized to try and get on any team as quickly as possible. But it did seem like he really liked the Bills, and he performed reasonably well for us. But to me, I don't think there's any particular rush to get him in the building. I'm still pretty high on Josh Palmer. I think most Bills fans were high on Josh Palmer before he came in last year. He performed reasonably well in the games he was available. That is the issue, though. He wasn't really available that much, but I still think he could potentially show up for this year. But if anything happens during training camp, I would have Brandon Cooks on speed dial. And then with respect to the Bills, I'm guilty of this, but I tend to conflate expectation with want. I always want the Bills to get to the Super Bowl, but I think, for me at least, the reasonable expectation is divisional round and or AFC Championship. Just want to hear your thoughts on that, guys.
Yeah, Jordan, I think I made out most of what you had there. Like, to me, the Cooks part of it, absolutely. Like, unless he's got a market somewhere else, and the Bills, I'm sure, would have already had this conversation with him going back months. Brandon Beane said they had been in contact in March. That's 4 months ago. That you just have a wink-wink agreement with him. Like, if you really want to be here, hang out. Don't sign anywhere. And I know you might want to be in training camp, but just hang around and let us get into camp, see what happens, and if somebody gets injured, there's a lot of receivers on the team. If one of those guys goes down, we'll give you a call. Or if, again, Coleman is, not showing up again. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll give you a call. Or if Skylar Bell ain't ready for this, we'll give you a call. You don't really have to rush that. So I think there is still a good chance that even though he's not signed now, and he might not be signed by the time training camp begins, that he could still end up on the Bills at some point in time. I don't know what the market would be for him. Like, for him to, if he really wants to be here, for him to pass on the opportunity to be here at some point, someone else has got to come calling. And that could happen, but it's not like anything he did last year for the Bills would inspire other teams to go court him. Right? Like, if I am the Chiefs today or whoever, and I'm looking at available receivers, he had 5 catches in Buffalo, and he had a bunch of drops, and that play at the end of the year he didn't hang on to. Like, do I really think he's got anything left in the tank? I might not. But the Bills, having experienced going through that a little bit, knowing he was getting open. He was getting along with the guys, and there was a leadership quality there that they would be more open than other teams. So there's that. And on winning a championship this year, I just think they've been living this life recently where it feels like I just got to get in, and then Allen gets hot, and that's how I win the Super Bowl. And there's got to be more to that than that. Like, yesterday we played the game, how do the Sabres win the Cup? And we went through a bunch of things that could be the answer to that. Helen Hughes being the Calder winner, or Norris staying healthy. The goaltending holding up, of course, is a non-negotiable. That has to be a part of it. And Zellweger is Bo Byram. We went through all the stuff that would have to be true for the Sabres to win the Cup. What has to be true for the Bills to win the Super Bowl? We know the Allen part of it. We know Allen has to be great. But doesn't there have to be more than that? Doesn't their defensive line have to be hell-raising after quarterbacks? Bradley Chubb is incredible for them. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's that DJ Moore is legitimately a premier receiver in the league.
Yes.
And is better than he ever has been. Or what? What is my answer to they're going to win the Super Bowl and it's not Josh Allen related? Because it would be assumed that to win the Super Bowl, Allen has to be incredible. But don't you need something else?
I mean, you had the rushing title last year, and that didn't even get it done. So you need more than that, too, arguably.
I just think, I think you need Josh and like ideally one defensive player to be nuclear. Like you need one guy to try to match him on that side of the ball, whether that's a defensive end that gets like whatever 2-3 sacks in a game, and it's like, okay, well that guy did it there. Josh did what he always does.
Yeah,
and like we got through, and.
Like if Michael Hoyt comes back and lights a fire on the defense or whatever.
Whatever. It could even be like, okay, Leonard just called like a perfect game.
Yeah.
Like he does the perfect game on defense for us, and Josh whatever does his thing again, and it's all good. Like I think you need something on that side. Because I think even if DJ Moore becomes a superstar here and he's awesome, how much is that changing what that offense impacts the game like? Because Josh is already so great in these games. Like, does it get you the one moment that you've been missing all this time? It might.
Yeah.
But what you would maybe rather have is the ability to just not need that moment and have something on the other side that is there for you and is functional, to a certain point and gets you to where Josh being incredible like he always is matters.
Don't you almost want something for him to not have to be as incredible as he always is, though?
Sure,
right?
ideally, but I do we think that's even possible?
I think I'm doing the same thing I did yesterday with the Sabres. Like I'm writing down things that I feel like, all right, this would propel the Bills to winning a Super Bowl. Because in addition to Allen just being great in the playoffs, and listening to you guys, like, all right, well, Jim Leonard, sure,
yes,
he's Spags.
Right.
Like he's just in the playoffs. Jim Leonard is just Spagnuolo. Okay, that could do it. DJ Moore is a premier receiver in the league. That could do it. What about Dalton Kincaid just becomes
available?
George Kittle.
Yeah. Him just playing every game, I think, is a huge step in the right direction because he'll get the targets if he does that.
Wrong tight end to point out, by the way, because Kittle's like all around blocking stuff. But whatever, like Kincaid's an elite tight end.
Yeah.
Like one of the best in the league, like 1,000-yard guy that is striking fear into teams when you go to the playoffs.
Changing how defense is played.
Yeah.
In a way.
Is that enough? Like what's going to do it? What's going to push them over the line? And I feel like on that, the majority of people would listen to those options and they would say it's the Jim Leonard part. Mm-hmm. It's got to come from the defensive side of the ball. And I'm just not all in on that. I understand that the defense has let them down in playoff games, but the offense has had the ball with chances to win in 3 consecutive playoff games and let them down.
That is true.
And it can't all be about the defensive side of the ball.
No, but I think what you can find is just getting to a place like my point was not they have a good game. My point was they are great now.
Right.
And like they have something that truly changes them into a dominant group that allows you to even falter on offense and not need to be perfect like they have needed to be to win anything. And I agree that the defense has struggled in these playoffs, but it is not solely responsible for any of this. Like you said, they have had the ball and chances here for multiple
years.
Multiple times.
And Jordan Phillips has come up big. Like they've had these, couple things that have gotten them the ball. But
I just think that seeing that happen on the defense would morph the whole into a much different experience than we've ever had. I think that would be, to me, the most impactful thing.
I had these numbers after the Denver game because I was adamant. I was like, this is not all on the defense. And I think the offense needs to step up too. And that's where I would get to like Moore, Kincaid, or maybe Cook being even better in the playoffs. I mean, last year in the playoffs, it was a drop from the regular season stats. Not like a crazy one.
Yeah.
But it went down like 15 yards a game.
How much
the numbers,
is that just playing a better team that you're not ahead of?
Probably true. But that is part of the playoffs. Like I need to be as good as I am against everybody against the teams in the playoffs because the team that wins the Super Bowl is probably going to be the team that does that. Right? Like Seattle was as good in the playoffs in most categories as they were in the regular season. Can you hold up to what you were against everybody when you're playing the better teams? that's the team that's going to win a lot. And I had done the numbers after the Denver game. The Bills' offense versus the defense in the fourth quarter and overtime. Because that is where McDermott's resume and his legacy will always reside, as well as it was that he turned the franchise around and broke the drought and was here as Allen became a rocket ship, best quarterback in the league. The 13 seconds game is always going to be a stain.
Mm-hmm.
And he got better in those departments. In the fourth quarter and overtime, who's been letting you down? 22 drives on offense, 4 touchdowns, 4 field goals, 2 turnovers, 3 turnovers on downs, and 3 punts. That's 1.8 points per drive. The Bills' defense in playoff games, fourth quarter and overtime, since 13 seconds. A McDermott defense, 23 drives, has allowed 4 touchdowns and 2 field goals.
Yeah.
3 turnovers forced, 4 turnover on downs, 5 punts. Like, it's just late game. And I'm not even, it's not a one-quarter game. I know. But I think it needs to be more than just, well, the defense is better in playoff games. Like, well, late game situations, their defense has been better in playoff games since the calamity.
Well, sure. Yeah, they need a closer. They need a closer on offense, which is I agree with that.
And I would almost take that first. Honestly, before I told you I would take their defense being great. Give me a guy that in the late game situation is going to get it done.
It's going to guarantee you the win.
More Kincaid. It's Santonio Holmes at the end of the Super Bowl against the Cardinals. Allen's going to look for that guy. He's going to be open, and he's going to find him, and they're going to go down the field, and they're going to score on big, important drives.
Yeah. That's definitely very attractive to think about. I agree with that. I said it. I think having a defense that truly can dominate at any point or at a point that matters, and not that they haven't had moments, but a consistent ability to do that, to me, would take a load off of that offense in a way that I think would be meaningful.
For sure, because to both points, if the defense just doesn't even put you in a late game situation like that, you don't even have to worry about having that closer. The defense closes it out early for you.
That's right. There's multiple ways to win.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if they do what you're saying,
right,
they don't need my late game heroics. But you could win, right, by being up and James Cook running out the lead, or you could win by you're down by 3 to Kansas City and you do it the way that I just described.
Exactly.
You could win either way.
It'd be ideal to have both of those things, though. Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's how you win. All right, give me both. Give me both, and I'm the Super Bowl champs.
Yes.
803-0550 is the phone number. If you're on hold, stay there. We got World Cup of Joe coming up as well. And we got another World Cup game today. Yesterday, France and Morocco. It was close, pretty late. And then France pulls away. Once Mbappe scores, it is felt like it was over. 803-0550 is the phone number. Talking some Bills. We're under 3 weeks away from training camp here on WGR. They wanted Devontae Adams, right? Like they were big game hunting a receiver at the deadline. But same thing, like you got to the deadline and it was, I didn't do enough here. I don't have the room I want. And I think part of what happened in the last 2 years that got you to that point was their reliance on Keon Coleman. Their role that they had given Keon Coleman without him really earning it. And in both campaigns, Coleman left you wanting or just wasn't available. Year one, it was the injury, and then they didn't like how he came back from the injury. Last year, it was he was late all the time, and then he was getting suspended by the team, and then it was happening again, and they couldn't get him to take it seriously on like at least time management, if not more than that. But he hadn't been playing well either. And it's, okay, well, 2 years in a row, this guy we thought was going to contribute in a big way for us and be a legitimate starting receiver for us. Well, that's not happening. So now we have to go do something else.
Right.
And this year, I don't think that reliance on Coleman is the same going into the year. That is the big key difference when I look at the Cooks idea or any idea that would happen later on down the year. It's kind of like Levi a little bit for this with the Sabres.
Yep.
The Sabres, for the first 2 years Devin Levi was here, just kind of gave him the keys to the car. Like, this is yours. Go ahead. Oh, now he can't do it? Now, okay, well, they at least had Luukkonen. So, like, I've got something else to turn to. But the third year, it's, okay, I need to plan. This hasn't worked 2 times. I need to plan otherwise. I don't need to get rid of the guy. I don't need to dump the guy. I can hang around and see if he becomes something for a little bit, and then if not, I can trade him, which they did. But year 3, I'm not giving you the keys again. And that, to me, is what the Bills are doing with Coleman. Like, you can hang around here, and we'll wait to see if there's more than what we've seen already. But we are not going into the year relying on you in the way that we have in the first 2 years.
Right.
Cooks was talking with Tim Graham, who's, of course, on the air here during the week, and Cooks said, obviously, Buffalo is the place I'd love to be. I want to prove that to them and have a full offseason with them. Both sides are figuring things out. We'll see, but hopefully something transpires because I love going to training camp. That's where you build that callus, which is interesting, by the way, because a lot of veteran players in the league will be like, just call me after camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't need to go through training camp.
He wants the experience.
Cooks wants to go through it, and he wants to be a part of it. And all right, here we go. So let's open the show on wide receiver. Let's do it. It's been far too long on wide receiver. Can the Bills make another move at wide receiver? Could they afford to? Is there an appetite to see one more guy, and a guy like this that you'd have to figure out how much you really liked his tenure here? It statistically was not as good as it probably feels. It felt like it went pretty well because he was getting open a lot, and you saw some juice. You saw some speed that the receiving room did not have otherwise. But in 5 regular season games, he caught 5 passes.
Yeah.
It was 1 per game. Now, in the playoffs, he caught 5 in 2, but we're not talking about an efficient player at all. Including playoffs, Cooks for the Bills last year on 22 targets had 10 catches for roughly 200 yards. But that's actually not bad with the yardage. Like, you're getting a lot of yards per reception because there's downfield stuff going on with him, but there were also a lot of drops. So I don't know what fans' temperature is on him and also what that would mean to the receiving room. But I think it's a really interesting idea because he multiple times this offseason has openly been talking about, like, he wants to be here. He wants to come back.
Yeah, as soon as the season ended, we played a clip. He was on Good Morning Football talking about Keon Coleman and how he wants to come back to help, like, guide him through and help him out. I don't hate the idea. If he can get down actually catching the football instead of dropping it over 50% of the time on those targets, right? Like, I know it wasn't all drops, but it's either him or it's like Diggs people are talking about. So I think people do have an appetite for another wide receiver in the room. I do. I'd be fine with Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, are you cool with him taking Hardman's spot?
Yeah.
Or Sherfield's spot? Like,
The World Cup quarterfinals roll on. Yesterday, France defeated Morocco 2-0. Spain takes on Belgium today at 3. Over the weekend, Norway will play England at 5 tomorrow, and Argentina plays Switzerland tomorrow as well at 9. In other news, Christian Pulisic's injury has been revealed. He's been diagnosed with a microfracture and bone bruise in the tibia and fibula of his right leg. And in the NHL, the Ducks matched the offer sheet for Leo Carlsson yesterday, signing him for a 5-year deal worth $90 million. A trade on pause in the NBA that would send Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers to the Raptors. It will not be completed until the NBA's investigation into Leonard's sponsorship agreement with Aspiration is completed. And around the NFL, Bleacher Report's James Palmer reports Shedeur Sanders has, quote, closed the gap on Deshaun Watson And in baseball, the Yankees beat the Rays 12-4. The Red Sox, they beat the White Sox 2-1. The Mets beat the Royals 7-3. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Sean McDermott was a very good head coach. This was a very good football team for a long, long time. They fired him and said, that's not good enough. So the ownership is telling you right now, what we did in the past is not good enough. 12-5 and not getting to the Super Bowl is not good enough. So I don't know if there is a head coach in an organization under as much pressure for the right reasons than Joe Brady and the Buffalo Bills, because we all know good is not good enough. He's got to be great. He's got to get this team to a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter what they do in the regular season. They can go 17-0. Nobody cares. What are you going to do once the playoffs starts?
Half true, in my opinion. That's Booger McFarland. Half true. If they go 17-0, that's extreme. People will care if they go 17-0. If they go 15-2, listen, they've not been the 1 seed yet. So if they're the 1 seed, then yeah, we'll care, but we'll only care in relation to what it means for the playoffs. So in that way, I guess you could say, yeah, we won't care. But the flip end, we very much would care.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's just hypothetically say that the Bills really struggle to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's going to matter. That's going to stick in people's minds.
Oh, yeah.
And it might make it even tougher for them in the playoffs again. So part of this is what it would mean for the postseason, but it won't feel great. And I think there would be pressure upon the head coach and the organization and everybody if they are a 9 or a 10-win team that really has to struggle to get in at the very end. I mean, the year that the Bills won the division at the 11th hour, they went down to Miami and beat the Dolphins, needing to win the division. There were plenty of calls for McDermott's head during that year when they were 6-6. And there was angst when that was happening. I mean, of course, if they missed the playoffs, it would be like...
Yeah, that's it.
That was a fiery time. You're absolutely right. Lots of calls. And then Ken Dorsey ended up getting the boot.
Right. Would if they limp in and lose in the wild card round, like,
what does that do?
That's bye-bye Bean, right? Like, that's it.
No, I think you
just promoted them. Like, there's no way
there
in a
is
season
no,
they do that.
The uproar guy, like,
there would be uproar,
the
but
people would be
on
fire.
I don't think there is any real is someone getting fired conversation from this season unless they miss the playoffs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They have to miss the playoffs, and I'm not even sure then. I feel like it would be pretty...
If they miss
with
Josh,
they
have to.
Another year of Allen's career, and it's not even a playoff exit. It's you don't even make it.
Josh is healthy, by the way, in this. Like, of course.
Yes.
This is all qualified with that.
Sure.
Like, I would struggle myself to feel like I've gotten to a good place with the Brady thing. Like, I'm all right. I hated when they fired McDermott. I hated how they handled the whole thing. I thought it was really just kind of gross.
What was the statement again? What did
Admiral.
It say?
Admiral. Yeah, Admiral job. Shout out.
Shout out, Admiral.
Yeah. But I've gotten to a place now where I'm thinking about Brady, where I'm like, listen, I like the concept of what he kind of represents for them. And so I'm in. I still don't like what the whole thing felt like with the transition and one guy lives, one guy doesn't. Like that whole thing bothered me in a way, and I think it bothered a lot of people in that same way. And I think if they struggle this year and it's like doesn't really look like Brady's got it the way we might have hoped, and the roster there's some issues, and like Leonard, the defense isn't that great, and they limp in, and then they get steamrolled by Denver again,
or even New England.
I don't know how we're coming in here on Monday morning and not getting 500 calls like they fired the wrong guy. And I don't know how the owner doesn't go like, uh-oh, I might need to do something here again. Because everybody kind of felt like maybe if one gets fired, both of them go. And that didn't happen. And how much more life does the other guy get? To me, that's just how I think about it. I don't think that has to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's the year they're going to have. I don't want that to happen. Like, let me make that clear.
Yeah.
But I could see a path where if that's how things go, it's going to get brutal in this town.
I get what you're saying. I just look at it as they promoted him to president of football operations and all of that too. And in one season to just fire him,
right?
I don't necessarily, even if they miss, that's one thing. If they limp in and get rolled, I still think they give him another year or two, whatever.
It would have to be a catastrophe.
Yeah,
I think there could definitely be more and more heat. That's already happened to some extent, and it would only continue to. He would be the lightning rod now. Like, that is part of what McDermott not being here anymore does. Like, Brady's new, and Brady is Bean's hire. So even now, whereas before the two entities were separated just for this for a public consumption and like what fans think of what's happening with the team, they were separate but equal in that you could like the job one's doing and not the other. Now it's much more tied, where anything Brady does that fans don't like is now a reflection on Bean.
Yeah.
And for that, I think, of course, it works both ways, though. Whereas if things were going wrong, then the dial would get turned up to 11. And on the other front, if things are going great, then it's going to look great for him.
Oh, yeah.
And anything Brady does that looks amazing is going to look good on Bean. And that could be the offense looking different, and their passing game is back, and they figured out ways to use the receivers. Suddenly, the coaching, whether it's good or bad, is now more of a reflection on the general manager. So, yeah, like I know they would not fire the GM unless I don't even know what it would be. They would have to miss the playoffs, and then I'm not even sure after that.
Right. No, because you can't move on from Brady.
Like, we're talking
a
multiple year experiment here at least. And if they're great and they win the division or they challenge for Super Bowls, they make the Super Bowl, then it's just going to be these two guys running the team for a long time now.
Right.
So
I hope that that's how it goes. And I think this year, Bean's got more to gain this year than he has since he drafted Allen.
Yeah.
He's got the ability to go, like, if it all works, like, listen, I told you guys, wasn't me. I got it. I figured it out. I got my coach, and now we're great, and we won.
And that the roster, and this is why, again, I don't think that it's even a thought. The owner agreed that the roster, he said at the press conference, the roster was Super Bowl caliber.
He did agree, yeah.
Which I think is nuts. But if they go out and play great, then that will feel like justification. Like, oh yeah, the roster was Super Bowl caliber. Yeah. And
I mean, they did add they added a wide receiver, hopefully,
they did.
DJ Moore. Like, it's a little different than
last season. But the
season.
roster is not so different. I mean, the defense didn't really get overhauled like we thought it would. Like, the old guys are out, but otherwise, like, they didn't make sweeping changes on the defensive side of the ball. There are a lot of the same pieces, and if different coaches come in with modest upgrades in some departments, then it'll feel like justification, I think, for, the roster was good enough. And the last coach didn't think so, and a lot of people didn't think so. I still don't think it is, but I guess we're going to find out. Yeah. Tom in Rochester next up. What's up, Tom?
Hey, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
Just two thoughts. You were talking about what can take the Bills to the next level in terms of the Super Bowl. Another name to throw out there is Cole Bishop, right? You know, does Jim Leonard get a hold of him and he just, becomes the top 5 safety in the league? I think that could be in the cards. The other thought is just, back to the Brandon Cooks. I'm all about bringing him back. I agree with the approach so far, which seems to be Brandon, stay in shape, but we don't need to bring you to training camp. It doesn't take you much time to build some chemistry with Josh. Let's see what we have with our players. But we should bring him back because right now our receiving core, I guess you could call it average, but, we're one DJ Moore rolled ankle away from it looking looking like the Jacksonville or Denver game last year where it's like, who's Josh? Give Josh Allen, and this is who we're throwing the football to, right?
Yep.
I'm all about bringing him back so so it doesn't get rough in a hurry again once injuries come up. But thanks, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks, Tom, for the call. Yeah, I'm mostly with you, too, that I think there would be a better role for him not having to be such a focal point of the offense. Like, hey, come here and you're not going to be the number one, but come here and be the number 4, play just a percentage of the snaps, and be a downfield threat. Maybe a lot of times you're going to be running routes just to push the defense back. You're not actually even going to get the ball a lot. I think there's a role for him here, but it's got to come at the expense of somebody else. And those snaps, those routes have to come at the expense of somebody else. Is that the rookie? Is that Bell? Or is that Coleman? Or is that Palmer? Like, I don't think you can bring him here, have him play a role, and not have somebody else take a hit. So that's where I'm at. And I don't mind talking about, Palmer maybe doesn't have a future here if he can't stay on the field. Or Coleman, it was all word salad that we're just really waiting for somebody to give us the best offer come training camp time. Like, guys get traded at training camp right around. The Bills acquired a former first-round pick in Corey Coleman during training camp from the Browns. And I'm sure there are 1,000 examples since then. When we come back, I'm going to save World Cup of Joe for a little bit later on because I want to make sure I give these guys time to get a good guess at it. The series that Jeremy Fowler is doing at ESPN, where he's having, I think he has 70 executives, coaches, and scouts to rank the top 10 at each position in the league. We have the tight ends, and I'll let you know where Dalton Kincaid falls in to this article. He is mentioned. I'll let you know what the league thinks of Dalton Kincaid next.
That feels like an upgrade, does it not?
Yeah.
And so if you've
Cooks was talking with Tim Graham, who's of course on the air here during the week, and Cooks said, obviously Buffalo is the place I'd love to be. I want to prove that to them and have a full offseason with them. Both sides are figuring things out. We'll see, but hopefully something transpires because I love going to training camp. That's where you build that callus. Which is interesting, by the way, because a lot of veteran players in the league will be like, just call me after camp.
Yeah,
right.
Like, I don't need to go through training camp.
He wants the experience.
Cooks wants to go through it, and he wants to be a part of it. And all right, here we go. So let's open the show on wide receiver. Let's do it. It's been far too long on wide receiver. Can the Bills make another move at wide receiver? Could they afford to? Is there an appetite to see one more guy, and a guy like this that you'd have to figure out how much you really liked his tenure here? It statistically was not as good as it probably feels. It felt like it went pretty well because he was getting open a lot, and you saw some juice. You saw some speed that the receiving room did not have otherwise. But in 5 regular season games, he caught 5 passes.
Yeah.
It was 1 per game. Now, in the playoffs, he caught 5 in 2, but we're not talking about an efficient player at all. Including playoffs, Cooks for the Bills last year on 22 targets had 10 catches for roughly 200 yards. But that's actually not bad with the yardage. Like, you're getting a lot of yards per reception because there's downfield stuff going on with him, but there were also a lot of drops. So I don't know what fans' temperature is on him and also what that would mean to the receiving room. But I think it's a really interesting idea because he, multiple times this offseason, has openly been talking about, like, he wants to be here. He wants to come back.
Yeah. As soon as the season ended, we played a clip. He was on Good Morning Football talking about Keon Coleman and how he wants to come back to help, like, guide him through and help him out. I don't hate the idea. If he can get down actually catching the football instead of dropping it over 50% of the time on those targets, right? Like, I know it wasn't all drops, but It's either him or it's like Diggs people are talking about. So I think people do have an appetite for another wide receiver in the room. I do. I'd be fine with Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, are you cool with him taking Hardman's spot?
Yeah.
Or Sherfield's spot? Like, that feels like an upgrade, does it not?
Yeah.
And so if you've got one more body that you might trust, if it's 20% more than one of those guys, and you get an injury, then good for you. You're in a better position.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be more than just, well, the defense is better in playoff games. Like, well, late game situations, their defense has been better in playoff games since the calamity.
Well, sure. Yeah, they need a
Since the
closer.
calamity.
They need a closer on offense, which is I agree with that.
And I would almost take that first. Honestly, before I told you I would take their defense being great. Give me a guy that in the late game situation is going to get it done.
It's going to guarantee you the win.
More Kincaid. It's Santonio Holmes at the end of the Super Bowl against the Cardinals. Allen's going to look for that guy. He's going to be open, and he's going to find him, and they're going to go down the field, and they're going to score on big, important drives.
Yeah. That's definitely very attractive to think about. I agree with that. I said it. I think having a defense that truly can dominate at any point or at a point that matters, and not that they haven't had moments, but a consistent ability to do that, to me, would take a load off of that offense in a way that I think would be meaningful.
For sure, because to both points, if the defense just doesn't even put you in a late game situation like that, you don't even have to worry about having that closer. The defense closes it out early for you.
That's right. There's multiple ways to win.
Yeah.
Right? Like if they do what you're saying,
right,
they don't need my late game heroics. But you could win by being up and James Cook running out the lead, or you could win by you're down by 3 to Kansas City and you do it the way that I just described.
Exactly.
You could win either way.
It'd be ideal to have both of those things, though. Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's how you win.
That's how
All right,
you
give
win.
me both. Give me both, and I'm the Super Bowl champs.
Yes.
Where do executives, coaches, and scouts rank Dalton Kincaid amongst the league's tight ends? Jeremy Fowler has that piece up. I will give you the scoop that Kincaid is not in the top 10. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, George Kittle, Sam Laporta, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, Colston Loveland, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, and Travis Kelce are all in your top 10. Dalton Kincaid is the first honorable mention. So I don't know, does that make him 11th? NFC Executive says, quote, very gifted athlete, hasn't put it all together, but that's partly due to injury. He absolutely can, and I expect him to. Listen, Christian Benford wasn't even mentioned in the cornerback article. And I didn't know how many Bills we'd get on these lists that are coming out, but we do have Kincaid. 11th best tight end, above Pat Freiermuth, Cole Kmet, Harold Fannin Jr. Feels appropriate. Marty Baron, when we come back, what does he think of the Connor Hellebuck idea and whether or not the Sabres should be or are done here? Marty, when we come back on WGR. Cooks was talking with Tim Graham, who's, of course, on the air here during the week, and Cook said, obviously, Buffalo is the place I'd love to be. I want to prove that to them and have a full offseason with them. Both sides are figuring things out. We'll see, but hopefully something transpires because I love going to training camp. That's where you build that callus. Which is interesting, by the way, because a lot of veteran players in the league will be like, just call me after camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't need to go through training camp.
He wants
But
the experience.
Cooks wants to go through it, and he wants to be a part of it. And all right, here we go. So let's open the show on wide receiver. Let's do it. It's been far too long on wide receiver. Can the Bills make another move at wide receiver? Could they afford to? Is there an appetite to see one more guy, and a guy like this that you'd have to figure out how much you really liked his tenure here? It statistically was not as good as it probably feels. It felt like it went pretty well because he was getting open a lot, and you saw some juice. You saw some speed that the receiving room did not have otherwise. But in 5 regular season games, he caught 5 passes. Yeah. It was 1 per game. Now, in the playoffs, he caught 5 in 2, but we're not talking about an efficient player at all. Including playoffs, Cooks for the Bills last year on 22 targets had 10 catches for roughly 200 yards. But that's actually not bad with the yardage. Like, you're getting a lot of yards per reception because there's downfield stuff going on with him, but there were also a lot of drops. So I don't know what fans' temperature is on him and also what that would mean to the receiving room. But I think it's a really interesting idea because he, multiple times this offseason, has openly been talking about, like, he wants to be here. He wants to come back.
Yeah. As soon as the season ended, we played a clip. He was on Good Morning Football talking about Keon Coleman and how he wants to come back to help, like, guide him through and help him out. I don't hate the idea. If he can get down actually catching the football instead of dropping it over 50% of the time on those targets, right? Like, I know it wasn't all drops, but it's either him or it's like Diggs people are talking about. So I think people do have an appetite for another wide receiver in the room. I do. I'd be fine with Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, are you cool with him taking Hardman's spot?
Yeah.
Or Sherfield's spot? Like, that feels like an upgrade, does it not?
Yeah.
And so if you've got one more body that you might trust, if it's 20% more than one of those guys, and you get an injury, then good for you. You're in a better position.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be more than just, well, the defense is better in playoff games. Like, well, late game situations, their defense has been better in playoff games since the calamity.
Well, sure. Yeah, they need a closer. They need a closer on offense, which is I agree with that.
And I would almost take that first. Honestly, before I told you I would take their defense being great. Give me a guy that in the late game situation is going to get it done.
It's going to guarantee you the win.
More Kincaid. It's Santonio Holmes at the end of the Super Bowl against the Cardinals. Allen's going to look for that guy. He's going to be open, and he's going to find him, and they're going to go down the field, and they're going to score on big, important drives.
Yeah. That's definitely very attractive to think about. I agree with that. I said it. I think having a defense that truly can dominate at any point or at a point that matters, and not that they haven't had moments, but a consistent ability to do that, to me, would take a load off of that offense in a way that I think would be meaningful.
For sure, because to both points, if the defense just doesn't even put you in a late game situation like that, you don't even have to worry about having that closer. The defense closes it out early for you.
That's right. There's multiple ways to win.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if they do what you're saying,
right,
they don't need my late game heroics. But you could win, right, by being up and James Cook running out the lead, or you could win by you're down by 3 to Kansas City and you do it the way that I just described.
Exactly.
You could win either way.
It'd be ideal to have both of those things, though. Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's how you win. All right, give me both. Give me both, and I'm the Super Bowl champs.
Yes. The World Cup quarterfinals roll on. Yesterday, France defeated Morocco 2-0. Spain takes on Belgium today at 3. Over the weekend, Norway plays England at 5, and Argentina plays Switzerland tomorrow at 9. In other news, Christian Pulisic's injury has been revealed. He's been diagnosed with a microfracture and bone bruise of the tibia and fibula in his right leg. In the NHL, the Ducks, they matched the offer sheet for Leo Carlsson yesterday, signing him to a 5-year, $90 million deal. A trade on pause in the NBA that would send Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers to the Raptors. It will not be completed until the NBA's investigation into Leonard's sponsorship agreement with Aspiration is completed. Around the NFL, Bleacher Report's James Palmer reports Shedeur Sanders has, quote, closed the gap on Deshaun Watson. And in baseball, the Yankees beat the Rays 12-4. The Red Sox, they beat the White Sox 2-1. And the Mets beat the Royals 7-3. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I think the biggest victory for them last year was obviously making the playoffs. But I think the second biggest victory was they restored respect to the sword. Like Connor Hellebuck was willing to waive to go there. I think Vincent Trocheck was very interested in going there. That wasn't happening a year ago. The Sabres are a different animal now. They're respected. Hey, that team's pretty good.
That's Elliot Friedman on his 32 Thoughts podcast on the Sabres. Is he still doing that podcast, or is he also going to a lake for the
final
summer?
32 Thoughts
That
of
was
the
the
season.
final?
Yeah, so they're taking some time off.
All these insiders are going away for their vacations, and I feel like the league hasn't done the things yet. I guess the Ducks matched the offer sheet, so we did get that. Marty Baron now on the Wester Hotline. Good morning, it's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy is off this morning. A little bit of a rainy day here. Marty, we're supposed to be playing golf later, and I think we'll probably be fine, right?
I think so. This is my first time this year playing, so I'm like, it can't be raining, so let's go. And it should be a beautiful afternoon. That's what I'm going with.
The last thing you want on your first golf round of the year, I think, is the grass being like sopping wet. That would terrify me, but you'll do fine today. We'll do fine today. So,
like I said in our text group, it won't affect my game, good or bad.
It's gonna stay the same. Well, we'll see. We'll have some fun a little bit later on. And before we get to the Sabres, Marty, do you have a thought on the Leo Carlsson offer sheet being matched? I meant to get to it this morning. We haven't had time yet. I really didn't think they would match it. Maybe a lot of people in the league did. And now I'm not as much thinking about the Ducks as the Flyers. Like, Danny Briere was so aggressive on that offer sheet, and they have the most cap space left in the league. And again, I feel like a lot of the star players in the league haven't moved yet. So I don't know. I feel like Philly is like a real team to watch here, even though we're 10 days past free agency starting.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are. I thought the Ducks were going to match, but that doesn't mean that if they match, and they did, that they're happy about it. And that also doesn't mean that Pat Verbeek didn't absolutely butcher this summer for the Anaheim Ducks. Look, they had about $40 million in cap space. Now, because they were offer sheeted on Carlson at $18 million, they signed A.J. Greer at a contract that they didn't have. They have Minchikov on the back end that they gave $7 million per year. They don't have enough money for Cutter Gauthier. And I think they'll sign Cutter Gauthier and they'll go over the cap in the summer because you're allowed to go over the cap by 10% in the summer. But when it's, opening night roster, you got to be cap compliant. So they absolutely butchered the summer. And Pat Verbeek, like that press release yesterday by ownership saying Pat Verbeek intelligently managed the cap and gave us enough room to be able to match. I mean, that's just crap. Like, it's just they're in a bad position. Now, the 4 first-rounder were not enough of a compensation. A first-rounder in 27, 28, 29, and 30, that's nothing. Like, if it was 4 first-rounder in 1 year, it would be different. But 1 a year for 4 years, that's not enough of a compensation. So I felt like they were going to match. Now, Danny Briere is going to turn around and potentially look at Adam Fantilli. of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's not going to look at Connor Bedard because Bedard's got the shoulder surgery, and that's a different situation. But who knows? Maybe there's a conversation with Dylan Larkin and saying, "Listen, I know we're not on your list. You have Minnesota, Florida, Dallas, whatever, but maybe you would want to come to Philly. We have a number 1 center spot open." So I think he's going to be aggressive to continue to make his team better. But I felt like Anaheim were going to match. And I actually was surprised it took him long, but I guess it's all part of the gamesmanship, because when Philly put the offer down on Leo Carlson, that money is tied up. It's basically Philly's cap hit until Anaheim matches. So that's the gamesmanship that's going on.
Right. That's why it took 6 days. And they are back to having almost $30 million in space. If they didn't have the history they did with Cutter Gauthier, I would think, well, and they just turn around and offer sheet him. But
well, they can't.
They're not.
Cutter Gauthier can't be offer sheeted because he's a 10.2C. Like, it's a weird thing.
Right.
So
okay.
Anaheim is lucky because they would have been exposed to Leo Carlson getting on offer sheet, and then another team coming in and offer sheeting Cutter Gauthier. So at least they got that. They're lucky with that.
Right. He's ineligible for an offer sheet. So we'll see. Right. Fantilli would be interesting, or maybe they're looking for a bigger trade idea. Robertson hasn't been moved yet. Well, Marty, what about for the Sabres and how aggressive they'll be from here to the start of the season? I think they could be done. I think that's what a lot of fans are trying to figure out, just is this it? And I don't even think it's a problem if this is it. But let's start with Hellebuck at this point, because there still seems to be an expectation that he will get moved. And if that is the case, I don't know who really is in it other than Buffalo and maybe Carolina. I wonder where you stand on the age part for him and whether he's really worth courting as a big idea like this at age 33. I've tended to think that it's not a non-starter for me at all because there are so many star goalies that have played really well into their late 30s. But where do you stand on
that? Sergei Bobrovsky won back-to-back cups at 34 and 35. And Bobrovsky plays a much more athletic, younger man type of game. Connor Hellebuck is very economical in the way that he plays. It's about positioning, it's about size, it's about reading of the play. I have zero problem with the age for Connor Hellebuck, and I still think that even if he was 35, 36, and look, this contract is going to take him all the way to age 38, I have no problem with that. I think that he will be productive at a later age, and that is fine. It reminds me a lot of, and this may not go well with a lot of Sabres fans in a way, but Ed Belfour. Like, Ed Belfour was so economical in the way that he played, and he played until he was a lot older. And a lot of goalies did back then. Like Patrick Roy was very economical in the way that he played. The butterfly, the positioning and all of that. Now, all of the goalies start with more athleticism to their game, and then as they get older, they adjust. And I think that Connor Hellebuck, over the last few years, you can see that this is a goalie that's going to be good for a long time still. So I have zero problem with that. And I do think that Winnipeg is in a bit of a kind of a tricky situation here because, obviously Hellebuck can go back to Winnipeg and play for the Jets this year. But are you so far down the road now that it's like, we're going to get Hellebuck back, but he's not going to be happy to be here, and we should just make the move, right?
Yeah.
I think that Winnipeg maybe overplayed their hand before the draft. They were demanding, they wanted a certain return, and maybe the Sabres weren't willing to give it in. I think now it may soften a little bit. So I mean, I'm not as confident as I was before the draft saying now Connor Hellebuck will be a Buffalo Sabres. But I think it's still a possibility moving forward.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think, going back in with him next year would just be uncomfortable. And I don't even know that I mind that in some instances, but how do NHL teams generally operate? Like, we just saw this with Brady Tkachuk a little bit. and it's happened in the past. I mean, Eichel here and other instances. Larkin maybe in Detroit. Yzerman's acting as though he'll be different on this. But I feel like generally, if a guy wants out or it's known that a guy might want out, the team usually just moves off of it, and they don't go through whatever turbulence they would have with bringing him back to camp and then in the season. Because, I mean, other players would know that too as that's happening.
Yeah, and it feels like I don't want to say there's an easy deal to be made here, but I think everybody can kind of see, okay, Connor Hellebuyck, what is the return for that? Well, a goalie is a return. A first-round pick is a return. Maybe an established player or forward, right, is a return. And then maybe there's a prospect in there. Maybe there's not. But I think there's a perimeter that is going to happen. Like for Dylan Larkin, for example, in Detroit, I don't know what that deal looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's only wanting to go to 3 or 4 teams. So that puts Detroit in a bad place. And maybe Detroit is like, we're not trading you because we're not getting the return that we should. I think we all know that Winnipeg is going to get a decent return, at least close enough to what maybe they would want for Hellebuyck. So that's, the bringing back Hellebuyck in training camp for next year is not the best option for the Winnipeg Jets.
Marty Baron with us. By the way, Marty, do you know what age you were for your career best save percentage?
Oh,
take a guess.
The weird thing with me is that early in my career, I played in, when there was 2-line passes,
right,
and there was, all of that, and so the speed game and everything. So it may have changed, but I think my first year with the Rangers may have been my best one, and that would be when I was 33.
Nailed it, 33, which is exactly how old Connor Hellebuyck is. Just throwing that out there. Another example, right? Marty at his career best at 33. Hellebuyck, 33 years old. So you could see that happen. You're right. The difference in the eras was wild from the beginning of your career.
But this was I would have. At first guess, I would have said before the 04-05
lockout
would have been better because, save percentages. Dominic Hasek, 937 or whatever.
Right.
You're never going to see that again. I don't think so.
Right.
But it just somehow happened to be when I was a little older. Wiser, they say, wiser.
Yeah. Do you think, as this team is currently constructed, Mario, let's say they don't really do anything else major, they have to sign Peyton Krebs still, but otherwise the team is mostly intact. Do you think there is enough potential internally for them to be better next season than they were last year? And that's a high bar, right? That's winning the division. That is a goal away from the conference finals. They lose Tuck and Byram. Do you think there is enough in this group to not even just be as good as they were a year ago, but even be better than it?
There is potential, but it's a little bit harder to project or predict because the potential to be better would come from players that are unproven, right? The potential to be better would be, with a Josh Norris for the full season. Well, that's never really happened all that often. So I can't really, put all my chips in the middle of the table and say they're going to be better because Josh Norris is going to play 78 games. I can't put all my chips in the middle and say they're going to be better because, Kulik is going to be an added bonus. Well, he missed a whole year, basically. So I don't know what that's going to be like. Or Helenius, he was great, but now, how is he going to be for, 2, 3, 4 months in a row being in the NHL? And Crevier, I really like, and Zellweger, I really like. And so I think that there is potential to be better than last year, but there's a lot of question marks with players that it's hard to project what they're going to be. Mm-hmm. Do I think Josh Doan is going to be even maybe better than last year? Yes, I think there's a progression there, and I can really see that happening. Same with Zach Benson, same with a few others. But obviously, with a Connor Hellebuyck, then for me, it's like, okay, Florida, Toronto, Montreal, like those teams are mostly Florida and Toronto, are taking steps forward, how do you stay in that race? I think that with the Connor Hellebuck, it would be easy to say, oh, they're going to be much better because they got a stud goalie. But I still think there's a chance they're better than last year with the team that they have right now. I absolutely love the team they have right now. I think that group of forward is awesome. I like their back end, even though they lost Bo Byram. But last year I was saying the same thing about, I love Kesselring coming in. And it wasn't a good year for Kesselring because he was injured, and then he gets traded. So there's still that chance that maybe one or two of the pieces that need to be so good are going to take maybe a step back.
Who's the quote unquote unproven guys that we haven't seen for full seasons yet? Who is the one that's most important for you on that? Like, is it Helenius? Because I feel like the expectation for him after the end of the year and the World Championships, like I don't know, like if he's a number one center for them immediately, like that's where I would start getting to, all right, they could be better than they were last year if you get him or somebody else that's like in the Calder conversation.
See, for me, I think it's Yuri Kulik because I think that Yuri could be a 30-plus goal guy.
Yep.
And I'm not saying, the Moneyball reference is not like we're trying to replace Alex Tuck's goals, but we're trying to replace scoring chances, shots on goal. And I'm like, I think that's Yuri Kulik. I think that's the guy that can maybe not only replace the goals, but replace that offense, maybe even replace power play, kind of production. And that's where I'm looking at. Now, we talk about Connor Hellebuck, and I know that the Patrick Kane name has been out there. Funny enough for me, I think that if the Sabres were to make a Hellebuck move at some point, if that happens, I think there's more of a chance that Patrick Kane is also a move because you would be losing mostly a forward in that transaction, so you'd have to replace that. If they don't make the Connor Hellebuck move and it doesn't come to a resolution, then I think it's very hard to see a Patrick Kane move because you've got too many forwards as it is. And good forwards to rely on. And the Yuri Kulik is, for me, the guy that would be the one that holds a bit of a key to the offense next year.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it on the Kane idea. We were doing this yesterday, like putting like just lines together, like if tonight was opening night. And you're right, like choosing who to leave out of the lineup right now is difficult. That if they were to sign Kane, and I do think there's merit to that idea, like he would help them on the power play. And I would like to see them get help on the power play, but then you have to figure out another guy that's coming out. And you're right, like without a trade somewhere else, they're just this is filed under good problems to have, right? Like they have 13, 14, 15 forwards that all feel like they're worthy of playing if tonight was opening night.
Yeah, but the problem that's going to be opening night or towards the end of the training camp is, well, do you still have 3 goalies?
Right.
And if you do, so now you only have room for 13 forwards and 7 defensemen, or do you keep 14 forwards and 6 defensemen with your 3 goalies? Like, this is where, again, we're going to be discussing the same thing in camp as we did last year, and maybe even at the start of the season is, who's the extra guy? Is Peyton Krebs the extra guy? Because, I mean, as it is right now, if you have Benson, Norris, Thompson, McLeod, Quinn, Zucker, the kids, Carrick, Mallenstein, it's like, whoa, like there's a lot of players there. Where does that leave space for Krebs, who was fantastic last year? And most likely going to go to arbitration and get paid at least on a 1-year deal. So that is going to be another one of those. Well, Lindy Ruff has got his work cut out for him to be able to manage and try to see how that all works out for opening night.
Yeah, the numbers crunch is there for sure. Last thing for you, Marty, and then we'll let you go. Anytime I see anybody doing, like, and I've done this too because we've done it, like putting together like what a lineup might look like for next year at least at the start of the year, Thompson is always on the wing from at least what I see. Like, are you also subscribing to the idea that he is going to play more on the wing going forward? I think that's maybe where we thought we were going to end up last year, but then they ran into injuries, and he played a lot of center, and there was some back and forth. Like, is he just a winger, you feel like, for this year because they have so many other guys that can play center?
Well, that's a luxury. I mean, every coach is going to tell you, I love that I can have many players playing center. Now, Tage Thompson last year was funny because himself, he was like, I like playing center better. Right. And then Lindy was like, oh, well, his production is maybe better on the wing. So it was a little internal kind of back and forth. And he ends up playing center most of the season and has a great year. And but at the Olympics, he wasn't in the middle of the ice. Now, can there be a switch and, during the play or whatever? Absolutely. But the way that I see it right now, I think there's going to be a little competition in camp. And the competition may not be just Tage Thompson, but I think Norris and McLeod are centers. So who is your other center? Is it going to be Hoslin? Is it Helenius? Is it Thompson? I think there is going to be an internal competition to see what fits best for that other center spot. And it doesn't mean it's third-line center. If Tage is a center, Tage goes to the top, and you have Norris as a second line and McLeod maybe as a third-line center. But if you move Thompson to the wing, you go Norris, McLeod, and Oslin, and then Carrick as a fourth line. It's really good as well. So yeah. I think there's options, and options are fine. But I would venture a guess that Tage is going to play a lot of center this year. Maybe he doesn't start in the middle, but he's going to work his way back there.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I almost feel like I'm looking at the list right now. Like, if Norris and McLeod are just here, that almost feels to me like by ice time, like that's second and third line center. And then I'm battling for my number one center between Tage, Helenius, and Kulik, maybe two I would want to throw in there. You threw him in there earlier. So, yeah, camp for like that position specifically is going to be really entertaining, I think, and interesting, to say the least. Because I feel like it's crazy. They didn't mention Kozak, Danforth. I know those are lower-level guys for this. Krebs is unsigned. Oslin, they just have so many centers, or guys that can at least play center.
But do you feel like the way it ended in the playoffs last year with Benson, Norris, and Thompson on the line,
yep.
Do you feel like that's the natural way to start next year?
I think so.
To say, hey, you know what? Like, Benny can work the corners. He's tough to play against in front of the net. Norris, even though Josh Norris probably sees himself more as a goal scorer, and throughout his career he's more of a goal scorer, but I see him more of a playmaker now, and Tage is that finisher. I think there's a good fit for that line to start together next year.
I agree with that. And I think even more than that, like, I know Lindy has said this before and others have, that they really like pairings of forwards that are consistently together, and then sometimes the third guy will rotate. And Thompson kind of lost his partner, right? Because for 5 years, it was Tuck more than anybody.
Yeah.
And who's his partner going to be going forward? And I feel like I want to say Benson for that.
Yeah, that's the duo. I think Kulik and Zucker, McLeod, and Quinn were a unit last year for a long time. Like, Lindy would switch the other two lines, but left these guys together a lot. But Kulik and Zucker have a kind of a thing. Like, they get along really well. Maybe they're together with McLeod, and then that leaves Quinn kind of on an island, because then you have maybe it's Oslin, Helenius, and Quinn, or or Doan could be on there with the two kids, and then Quinn is on an island. Like, again, there's 10 forwards for me for the top 9.
Right.
And so somebody's not going to be happy unless there's, somebody gets hurt and then everybody fits into place.
Yep. We'll see as camp gets closer. And again, a trade could make a lot of this conversation easier if it happens in the next couple of months. Marty Baron, Sabres Live today at 12 o'clock. And you've got the Western New York Heroes Gala tonight, right, as well?
Yeah, so this is great, because last year I was part of Western New York Heroes, the holiday gala, and Sal Capaccio obviously hosted the thing, and then he auctioned off a dinner in Ellicottville with Chris and his wife and whoever wanted to buy the dinner. And then, like every live auction, there's always a time where things dies down a little bit. And then he's like, Marty, come on stage. He goes, you want to go to dinner? We're getting Marty to come to dinner with us. And then the betting kept going a little bit. So I added my flair to it. So that's why, like, we're all going to go, and you'll be there, go golfing, early afternoon. And then we got that dinner tonight in Ellicottville, which will be awesome.
Nice. Should be fun. Well, thanks for doing this, Marty, and I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Absolutely. See you later.
Thanks. Marty Baron on the Western Hotline, Sabres Live, 12 o'clock. They had Shayna Goldman on yesterday, by the way. Check that out. Really good interview. They also had Mark Pesic on from the butt goal,
The
of
butt
course.
goal. 2 days ago they had that. So
Revisiting
that'll be
the butt goal a little bit.
Pesic
You
and
guys-
then Goldman. I love Shayna Goldman. She's awesome.
You guys are old enough to remember the butt goal, of course.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I
like
remember the butt goal.
that's like the first year of the playoff drought, I think.
20.
It was early.
He didn't play here very long after that.
No, I don't think so. I think that's right.
That's one of those guys that was like a Sabre first-round pick that, like, before they played here, I'm like, oh, this guy's going to be so good. And they're like, yeah, he's fine. He's an NHL player.
Right.
Yeah, 2013. We were like 11 years old at that point.
Yeah.
So
I definitely remember that.
yeah.
Right.
For sure. Mike Smith was always quite a trip to watch. I had a guy tell me one time that I looked like Mike Smith when I played, and I took the most offense to that I could take to anything anyone could ever say about my hockey game.
Really?
I was so mad.
Really?
Oh, he's so sloppy and gross. He looked horrible playing the position.
The thing I remember about him more than anything is he just played the puck all
He
the
played
time.
the puck awesome. He was really good at that.
And it's funny, like, so your YouTube rabbit hole used to be like fun facts and like useful information about like different things around like the world. Mine are like compilations of like controversial sports moments, like whether it's like referees getting mad or like guys that are throwing dirty hits.
Sure.
One of them recently, Owen will love this one, was like a 12-minute compilation on goalies getting run.
Oh man.
And I'm not lying to you. Half of it was Mike Smith.
Oh yeah.
He kept popping into this compilation. I'm like, it's Mike Smith again.
This guy looks like a psycho.
This is the 7th time.
Oh, he's crazy.
And they were all him playing the puck behind the net and getting run behind the net.
Yeah, because he would go back there and do it, and he would talk, and people would go back there and just like, this guy is so annoying. I am gonna bulldoze him, and they would just annihilate. It was unbelievable. It was it's the best. Yeah, he used to.
Ooh, this is good. So you
over.
You didn't like being compared to Mike Smith.
Oh, I hated it.
Who was your favorite comp?
Pekka Rinne was my guy.
That was your favorite
I
one?
was big, and I played. I liked it because I was a big, giant guy that played like a little guy, and that was Rinne. Like, Rinne was a big, tall goalie that wore good gear and played like athletic, fun goaltender.
It's good.
And I liked to try to play like Rinne.
I'm more interested in other names that you didn't like being compared
Corey Crawford. Corey Crawford would drive me nuts.
Why?
Oh,
Because
man.
his pads they stayed so straight on his legs that it looked like they were going to stick up into his stomach. And it really bothered me how he wore his pads.
Oh.
And he's also on my like most punchable face list.
Really?
He does kind of have that look
I
to
can't
him.
stand just looking at his face.
Corey Crawford?
Yes.
Stanley Cup champion Corey Crawford is a punchable
Don't come at
face?
me with Stanley Cup champion. I know.
I mean, he won it.
Drives me nuts. I hated that.
This
too.
guy.
Yeah.
The thing I always liked about Crawford is I thought he was a good goalie number. I liked 50 as a goalie number.
50 as a goalie number is fun.
It's
I do
cool.
like that.
Interesting.
His pads, you're absolutely right about. I'm looking at a picture of him in his stance, and it's poking his midsection.
And there was a kid in Amarillo. Oh.
We're just reopening old
There was a
wounds.
kid in Amarillo that wore his pads like that, and he would talk like crazy. And he's the kid that I tried that wouldn't cross the red line.
Oh,
The
you tried to
same
fight
guy.
him. Yeah.
Yes. And he was so annoying. He would drive me nuts, this kid. And I would try and fight him every time I saw him, and he wore his pads like that. And I hated him before I ever heard him talk because he wore his pads like Corey Crawford.
There's fun game potential for down the road here in the summer. If we just say a goalie and Owen reacts to whether or not he would be furious or happy if he was compared.
I
could go very deep on that.
I like it.
That would be
Keep that in the logs.
I'm writing that down. I'm jotting that down.
All right.
We got to take a break. Nick Mendola is coming up next on the World Cup quarterfinals. We still got to play World Cup with Joe. That's coming up as well here on WGR.
For more comfort.
Now's the perfect time to make yourself comfortable with a new electric heating and cooling system from Belknap.
In Western New York, summer and winter bring extreme temperature conditions. Make yourself comfortable with Mitsubishi electric heat pumps, designed to keep your home cool in the summer and warm in the winter, no matter how hot or cold it gets outside. Call Belknap today to learn more.
I'm Gary Garfel, president of Belknap. We work on your schedule. We don't charge more for weekends and evenings. That's why we say,
give Belknap a ring.
They wanted Devontae Adams, right? Like they were big game hunting a receiver at the deadline. But same thing, like you got to the deadline and it was, I didn't do enough here. I don't have the room I want. And I think part of what happened in the last 2 years that got you to that point was their reliance on Keon Coleman. Their role that they had given Keon Coleman without him really earning it. And in both campaigns, Coleman left you wanting or just wasn't available. Year one, it was the injury, and then they didn't like how he came back from the injury. Last year, it was he was late all the time, and then he was getting suspended by the team, and then it was happening again, and they couldn't get him to take it seriously on like at least time management, if not more than that. But he hadn't been playing well either. And it's, okay, well, 2 years in a row, this guy we thought was going to contribute in a big way for us and be a legitimate starting receiver for us. Well, that's not happening. So now we have to go do something else.
Right.
And this year, I don't think that reliance on Coleman is the same going into the year. That is the big key difference when I look at the Cooks idea or any idea that would happen later on down the year. It's kind of like Levi a little bit for this with the Sabres.
Yep.
The Sabres, for the first 2 years Devin Levi was here, just kind of gave him the keys to the car. Like, this is yours. Go ahead. Oh, now we can't do it? Now, okay, well, they at least had Luukkonen. So, like, I've got something else to turn to. But the third year, it's, okay, I need to plan. This hasn't worked 2 times. I need to plan otherwise. I don't need to get rid of the guy. I don't need to dump the guy. I can hang around and see if he becomes something for a little bit, and then if not, I can trade him, which they did. But year 3, I'm not giving you the keys again. And that, to me, is what the Bills are doing with Coleman. Like, you can hang around here, and we'll wait to see if there's more than what we've seen already. But we are not going into the year relying on you in the way that we have in the first 2 years.
Right.
Crosses it in, knocked away by Mazraoui. Mario heads it back in. Due able to find Mbappe through traffic. Kylian Mbappe! 20 career World Cup goals!
That guy's insane. Mbappe. The World Cup continues. Owen's furious because I'm naming Corey Crawford nicknames in the break. One of them is Crow My Goodness. Not a nickname.
So bad.
Hockey Reference needs to remove that. It's not a nickname. That's like it's like a goal, or it's like a save call.
Maybe. And even that, I would really maybe have a hard time with not making fun of the play-by-play guy.
Someone must have done it at some point. Because
that has to be where it's from.
It's listed here.
I know Patrick Kane doesn't call him Crow My Crawford, so, you know.
Right. Corey Crawford. Anyways, all right, World Cup. Quarterfinals have already begun. Nick Mendola now on the Western Hotline. Before we get to the quarters, Nick, good morning, by the way. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning.
The U.S. fallout a few days later, I think the thing I want to ask you more than anything is, are you surprised that Pulisic has gotten as much criticism as he has gotten? Because it's a lot.
No, because we're a scapegoating country.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say he earned a bit of it because that's the wrong way. I think he was trying very hard to win the World Cup. But, I understand a lot of it. And he also has I don't want to say a prickly, but he has an odd personality. And I think that some people, at best, socially awkward, which I totally relate to. And I think over time that he's maybe rubbed people a little bit the wrong way, and he's been easy to scapegoat. And I read an entire book on scapegoating, and I understand why it happens biologically.
Yeah.
So no, not surprised, sadly.
I guess the one thing that I was more taken aback by anything is that you had former players, U.S. program players, and on both sides, like Carly Lloyd, Landon Donovan. Like if Nick Wright is making a comment about it, like whatever, I'm expecting that to happen.
Sure, right.
But when Landon Donovan and Carly Lloyd were doing it, I guess that's what was more, surprising and for me.
Well, just never forget that the old guard has their own, I guess, I don't want to say druthers, but there's a pride level there that gets lost over time because they went to the 2002 quarterfinals. And in Pulisic's documentary, or I guess it was the U.S. documentary. Remember, they were talking about the 2022 World Cup, and both him and Timothy Weah came out and said, why are these guys coming after us? It's kind of embarrassing over the criticism that they get from pundits and analysts who used to be on the national team. And I think Landon Donovan has a long memory, as we've seen with what he said about Klinsmann cutting him from the team, et cetera. And so it doesn't surprise me that some of those guys are like, oh, you don't like being criticized when you're doing well. Well, you just did poorly. So, yeah, I think it's human nature, sadly. You don't have to like it, but I totally understand that part.
Right. Moving on to the games that we will now see or that we saw yesterday into the corners. I want to start on the Egypt-Argentina result from the other day. The comeback there, Egypt being so furious and whatever they're doing after the game was over. But, man, Nick, Messi at 39 years old still being this good, I think he already was considered the best ever. But is there really a precedent in that sport for a guy at this age still being this good? Or even, some version of good to what they had been? Because I feel like, Ronaldo was playing at 41, but how many guys are still playing this well into their late 30s?
So what I would say is certainly not as an attacker. Now, I didn't see the end of Pele's career, but I can tell you, and Argentina is built to give him freedom to roam, right? This is all designed for Messi to still be able to do as well as he can do at his age. But I've never seen anything like it. When we talk about player primes, this is one of the things I love because there's a connection between soccer and my first love, hockey. Right. You get to 28 to 32 and we're talking about, do we give you another contract? Right. If you're not, a big oaf defenseman and that's gone away, or defender, or goalies play a long time. Attackers, this doesn't happen. Right. It just doesn't happen. There isn't a way to protect players without adapting your whole team, which was Argentina does. Like the Patrick Kane discussion looms here for me. Oh, you can use him on your power play and you'll get a lot out of him, and we'll see what happens 5-on-5. That there isn't that in soccer, barely that in soccer. And Argentina, to their credit, but he's doing it at Inter Miami as well. And yes, MLS is certainly a second-tier league, but this is unbelievable. And it actually, what Messi's doing for me is taking the GOAT debate and making me wonder if it isn't insulting, because I think he's in the discussion with him should be, let's talk GOAT of GOATs, right? Let's bring your GOATs out, bring your LeBron Jordan debates, your Messi Ronaldo debates. Messi's going to walk away from that. Like, there's just no question there. And I want to talk about him as one of the greatest creators and artists of all time.
Yeah. Beyond sports even, right?
Beyond sports. Yes. Like you go to watch him do his thing better than anything else. And I honestly mean this. The people who don't watch soccer tune in and go, yeah, I get it. Like,
right.
They watch. Yeah, I get it. It's, you go to the Sistine Chapel, right? And you're not an art person and you're not a religious person, but you're like, oh yeah, that's 3D art on the ceiling of a building from hundreds of years ago. I get it.
Yeah. So with his brilliance, they have still barely clawed through Egypt and Cabo Verde. They've not really played anybody on the elite tier yet. Do you wonder what they'll look like as a team overall if they play England in the semis, France down the road? Like, are they showing cracks that they probably won't win the whole thing?
Yeah. I don't know about probably won't win the whole thing, but certainly aren't, above and beyond. I think before the tournament, a lot of people thought you could legitimately see, if the bracket works out, like the odds-on favorite is a France and Argentina rematch. Mm-hmm. And this time I think that of the 8 teams left, you would not be surprised you wouldn't be shocked if any team made it through, which is kind of amazing, but you wouldn't be surprised if 7 teams made it through.
Right.
Switzerland is the one, for the record.
I was just going to ask that.
They're not good. Yeah, it's not that they're not good. It's they don't have a single player that you think, in a game where our team isn't going good. I mean, it's the Pulisic argument. Hey, our team isn't going good. Who do we look to? And it's Granit Xhaka. It's not Johan Manzambi, who's 20 years old. There just isn't a guy there where you're like, this is what we lean on when it's not going well.
Yeah. So would you then not say France is a cut above the rest right now, or would you say that?
It would be foolish not to. I think you can make arguments, but you're really stretching, right? It's when it's when the Pats went 16-0 and you were trying to describe why that wasn't impressive. That is really kind of the status of where we're at right now. Mbappe's unbelievable. What people don't even realize with his scoring touch is that Dembele is barely behind him and just won the Player of the Year, the Ballon d'Or, for the world. Like the world's best player and the world's one of, top 3 on the same team. The goalkeeper is solid. The backs are solid. Saliba from Arsenal obviously just won the Premier League. Everybody there, and even their weaknesses, and it's a perceived weakness. They have a midfield that, 150 nations in the world would kill for. It's just not a top 10 midfield, and whatever, right? Like their weaknesses is still a strength for most of the teams in the world. They look fantastic. It's good to watch. I mean, it's a good advertisement for sport. The only thing you would argue, Joe, is that, they just did it 8 years ago. They went to the final 4 years ago. And I think there's a lot of us who are like, yeah, but maybe I want to watch Holland, or maybe I want Holland being Netherlands aren't in it, Holland being Erling Haaland, or maybe I want to watch Spain, or maybe, I just want something different. That's it's Golden State Warriors, maybe. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's not bad. Yeah, I mean they've
from a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like during their heyday. I mean, they have the dominance they show. It is really just so impressive, and the talent that you see. Before we run out of time, I do want to get you on England and their matchup with Norway tomorrow, and they'll be missing Jarell Kwanzaa. He actually had his red card extended, like the suspension added onto it. And aren't they already pretty weak back there? Like, so Norway here, it's Holland. Overall, I think you would say that England is the more talented group, but what is their look at it right now to ending this long period of not winning the World Cup?
I think it's pretty good. Harry Kane's one of the best forwards in the world. They're attacking front four now that Saka is healthy with Bellingham. The only question I have with England is, do they all show up at once? Because I think their right back position will eventually be solved. The Kwanzaa suspension, Kwanzaa's only playing because Reece James gets hurt and isn't available. And I think there's no question. I think it's questionable, and I don't want to heap misery on a 23-year-old who just got his suspension extended. I think that there are a number of managers who wouldn't have taken Kwanzaa to the World Cup. And it's not that he's bad. He's 23, plays for Bayer Leverkusen, is a Liverpool product. But, there's an argument that this team, the flashy people would have said, why isn't Trent Alexander-Arnold here? And then the answer would be because he doesn't defend at this level. He defends. And then other people would say, well, then just bring Kyle Walker. Getting to Jarrell Kwanzaa might have been the one surprise of the tournament. And to the extent that people are like, well, just play Declan Rice there, even though he's a midfielder. It's you're very familiar with this. You lived this with Liverpool last year, Joe. And so the Kwanzaa absent isn't as much of a big deal. If Reece James can go, it's an upgrade of the highest order. So I actually think England still have a chance. I just continue to think they live in this Leafs world where you look at their roster and you say, that's as good as anyone's out there. But there's just some sort of pressure. There's some sort of underperformance gnome that lives on their team bus and follows them around.
Right. You are literally speaking a debate that I lived with Alexander-Arnold and Kwanzaa and others 2 years ago, every single week. And he did right. Alexander-Arnold not even getting taken.
Don't we have that, Joe? I mean, to me, Trent Alexander-Arnold is an outlier. There's an element of to me, there's an element of Tage Thompson to him. He does things attack-wise that you would not imagine other people being capable of doing. Even the sheer whip on his free kicks. But guess what? He's not tracking back in playoff games.
Right. I don't know if you like this comparison. When he was at Liverpool, what I always thought of him was this is Erik Karlsson. He is incredible, and I've got to always make excuses for his value when it comes to, he also he's not a very good defender. I'm whatever. Look what he's making up for that, and then tenfold by what he's doing on the first half of the pitch.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a definition of the hold on, let him cook.
Right.
Wow, he's made this huge mistake. It was it's the same feeling I get. It's not the same player, but it's the feeling I would get when James Cook would fumble and McDermott wouldn't put him back in.
Yeah.
That sucked, dude. And he'll do that sometimes.
Right.
But he can also run 70 yards. Give me Ray Davis in lesser doses.
Right.
I'm totally with you. Trent Alexander-Arnold is one of the most creative players to ever play a game. There's a reason that 95% of people wanted him to become a Pirlo, a holding midfielder. But Jurgen Klopp, who is a genius, just kept putting him at right back, and more times than not it worked. But when it didn't, it looked awful.
Yeah. Well, he's not available to England. They play tomorrow at 5 against Norway. They will have to do without him because he's not on the squad. Lastly, FC Buffalo is not till next week, right, in the playoffs?
The playoffs aren't until next week, but I've been pretty open about this, and it's worked because it's important to be vulnerable. It's real hard running a minor league soccer team. So we have a home game on Saturday. Our players, we have so many local guys. I've mentioned Ali Alamari from Lackawanna, but also Jack Root from Buffalo, Ashton Gell from Lancaster, Zach Venuto from Buffalo. And so we're encouraging people to come on out Saturday at 3 p.m. It's not going to get in the way too much of your World Cup fun. Come out to Coyer Field, pay a couple bucks, watch a great group of players averaging 3 goals a game, and help us because we're going on the road for at least a week. And so come on out, help a small group get over the line and hopefully become a bigger group.
Make tomorrow a soccer marathon. Go see FC Buffalo at 3 o'clock, then go watch the Norway-England game a couple hours after, and then go watch Argentina-Switzerland. Perfect.
That's what I'll be doing.
All-day soccer.
It's not a surprise, but that's what I'll be doing.
Right. Thanks, Nick, again.
Anytime, guys.
Nick Mendola, NBC Soccer. The World Cup continues today at 3 o'clock. Spain and Belgium. We'll have World Cup of Joe in the 9 o'clock hour. Got some football to talk about with Marcus Mosher as well. And your phone calls at 803-0550 here on WGR. They wanted Devontae Adams, right? Like they were big game hunting a receiver at the deadline. But same thing, like you got to the deadline and it was, I didn't do enough here. I don't have the room I want. And I think part of what happened in the last 2 years that got you to that point was their reliance on Keon Coleman. Their role that they had given Keon Coleman without him really earning it. And in both campaigns, Coleman left you wanting or just wasn't available. Year one, it was the injury, and then they didn't like how he came back from the injury. Last year, it was he was late all the time, and then he was getting suspended by the team, and then it was happening again, and they couldn't get him to take it seriously on like at least time management, if not more than that. But he hadn't been playing well either. And it's, okay, well, 2 years in a row, this guy we thought was going to contribute in a big way for us and be a legitimate starting receiver for us. Well, that's not happening. So now we have to go do something else.
Right.
And this year, I don't think that reliance on Coleman is the same going into the year. That is the big key difference when I look at the Cooks idea or any idea that would happen later on down the year. It's kind of like Levi a little bit for this with the Sabres.
Yep.
The Sabres, for the first 2 years Devin Levi was here, just kind of gave him the keys to the car. Like, this is yours. Go ahead. Oh, now he can't do it? Now, okay, well, they at least had Luukkonen. So, like, I've got something else to turn to. But the third year, it's, okay, I need to plan. This hasn't worked 2 times. I need to plan otherwise. I don't need to get rid of the guy. I don't need to dump the guy. I can hang around and see if he becomes something for a little bit, and then if not, I can trade him, which they did. But year 3, I'm not giving you the keys again. And that, to me, is what the Bills are doing with Coleman. Like, you can hang around here, and we'll wait to see if there's more than what we've seen already. But we are not going into the year relying on you in the way that we have in the first 2 years.
Right.
I think it needs to be more than just, well, the defense is better in playoff games. Like, well, late game situations, their defense has been better in playoff games since the calamity.
Well, sure. Yeah, they need a closer. They need a closer on offense, which is I agree with that.
And I would almost take that first. Honestly, before I told you I would take their defense being great. Give me a guy that in the late game situation is going to get it done.
It's going to guarantee you the win.
More Kincaid. It's Santonio Holmes at the end of the Super Bowl against the Cardinals. Allen's going to look for that guy. He's going to be open, and he's going to find him, and they're going to go down the field, and they're going to score on big, important drives.
Yeah. That's definitely very attractive to think about. I agree with that. I said it. I think having a defense that truly can dominate at any point or at a point that matters, and not that they haven't had moments, but a consistent ability to do that, to me, would take a load off of that offense in a way that I think would be meaningful.
For sure, because to both points, if the defense just doesn't even put you in a late game situation like that, you don't even have to worry about having that closer. The defense closes it out early for you.
That's right. There's multiple ways to win.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if they do what you're saying,
right,
they don't need my late game heroics. But you could win, right, by being up and James Cook running out the lead, or you could win by you're down by 3 to Kansas City and you do it the way that I just described.
Exactly.
You could win either way.
It'd be ideal to have both of those things, though. Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's how you win. All right, give me both. Give me both, and I'm the Super Bowl champs.
Yes.
Marcus Mosher coming up. Locked On Dynasty next. A little bit of a Fantasy Friday coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Reminder, I'm hosting a golf tournament tomorrow. We're raising money for my friend that passed away last year in the Sarcoma Alliance, who helped him a lot during his fight with sarcoma. And if you want to donate, we've had the code up, and you've seen the flyer during the breaks maybe on our YouTube stream. You can find it on my Twitter, at Sneaky Joe Sports. All proceeds are going to the Sarcoma Alliance, and any donation would be very helpful. My Venmo's there, and you can also go to StubbsClassic.com. You can find the site there as well. And tomorrow we're hoping to have some fun. Should be a little better weather-wise. The golf cannon's all ready to go. Checked in on that last night. We got to set the distance, though. I don't think we're going to do 500 yards. There's not many holes that would work for that, but maybe. When we come back, Marcus Mosher, World Cup of Joe in the 9 o'clock hour. And also, you got to see what the face value tickets FIFA just released for the World Cup final are. Not the resale market, face value. Next. Cooks was talking with Tim Graham, who's, of course, on the air here during the week. And Cooks said, obviously, Buffalo is the place I'd love to be. I want to prove that to them and have a full offseason with them. Both sides are figuring things out. We'll see, but hopefully something transpires because I love going to training camp. That's where you build that callus. Which is interesting, by the way, because a lot of veteran players in the league will be like, just call me after camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't need to go through training camp.
He wants the experience.
Cooks wants to go through it, and he wants to be a part of it. And, all right, here we go. So let's open the show on wide receiver. Let's do it. It's been far too long on wide receiver. Can the Bills make another move at wide receiver? Could they afford to? Is there an appetite to see one more guy, and a guy like this that you'd have to figure out how much you really liked his tenure here? It statistically was not as good as it probably feels. It felt like it went pretty well because he was getting open a lot, and you saw some juice. You saw some speed that the receiving room did not have otherwise. But in 5 regular season games, he caught 5 passes. Yeah. It was 1 per game. Now, in the playoffs, he caught 5 in 2, but we're not talking about an efficient player at all. Including playoffs, Cooks for the Bills last year on 22 targets had 10 catches for roughly 200 yards. But that's actually not bad with the yardage. Like, you're getting a lot of yards per reception because there's downfield stuff going on with him, but there were also a lot of drops. So I don't know what fans' temperature is on him and also what that would mean to the receiving room. But I think it's a really interesting idea because he, multiple times this offseason, has openly been talking about, like, he wants to be here. He wants to come back.
Yeah. As soon as the season ended, we played a clip. He was on Good Morning Football talking about Keon Coleman and how he wants to come back to help, like, guide him through and help him out. I don't hate the idea. If he can get down actually catching the football instead of dropping it over 50% of the time on those targets, right? Like, I know it wasn't all drops, but it's either him or it's like Diggs people are talking about. So I think people do have an appetite for another wide receiver in the room. I do. I'd be fine with Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, are you cool with him taking Hardman's spot?
Yeah.
Or Sherfield's spot? Like, that feels like an upgrade, does it not?
Yeah.
And so if you've got one more body that you might trust, if it's 20% more than one of those guys, and you get an injury, then good for you. You're in a better position.
Mm-hmm. The World Cup quarterfinal rolls on. Yesterday, France defeated Morocco 2-0. Spain takes on Belgium today at 3. Over the weekend, Norway plays England at 5 tomorrow, and Argentina plays Switzerland tomorrow as well at 9. In other news, Christian Pulisic's injury has been revealed. He's been diagnosed with a microfracture and a bone bruise of the tibia and fibula in his right leg. In the NHL, the Ducks matched the offer sheet for Leo Carlsson yesterday, signing him to a 5-year, $90 million deal. And a trade on pause in the NBA that would send Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers to the Raptors will not be completed until the NBA's investigation into Leonard's sponsorship agreement with Aspiration is completed. Around the NFL, Bleacher Report's James Palmer reports Shedeur Sanders has, quote, closed the gap on Deshaun Watson. And in baseball, the Yankees, they beat the Rays 12-4. The Red Sox beat the White Sox 2-1. And the Mets, they beat the Royals 7-3. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
But I'm a worry there. And the other red flag is, the Bears seem to be ascending, and part of their ascendance was, we don't need DJ Moore anymore. This is a team that should be like, hey, we're all in, and instead we're like, hey, we're going to make this guy available. I don't think he's the Stephon Diggs you're seeking. I think he's going to help, but this is going to be another year of Bills receiver by committee, and that's okay. But we keep seeing Bills receiver by committee with Joe Brady in charge of it. We keep seeing this, and we keep seeing it not being the thing that launches Josh Allen to the stratosphere, so to speak. So I think he helps. I think he's a good addition. I think there needs to be more at wide receiver.
That is Mike Tennier on DJ Moore. We'll have Marcus Mosher, Locked On Dynasty, also Locked On Cowboys. But on the Bills, he and Michael Fabiano did a show this week all about the AFC East. And I want to go bill by bill with him on what he's thinking about for what they'll do this year. That on more. Launch Allen into the stratosphere. My instinct was to say, well, Allen's already in the stratosphere. He's Josh Allen. But not numerically, right? Like 3,600 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. If I'm going as baseline as I possibly could, I would look at his numbers and say, yeah, those are good. They're good. Are they the best in the league? No. Are they even close to the best in the league? No. But they're good. Of course, we know Allen does so much more than that. I mentioned the rushing, and there also is the context of what's around him. DJ Moore launching him into the stratosphere is probably, who's going to make him a 4,500-yard quarterback this year that throws for 40 touchdowns. Career high level stuff. Stuff what he was doing when Diggs was here at his best. 4,500, 4,400, 4,300, 35, 36, 37 passing touchdowns. When he says stratosphere, that's probably what he means. Just not even your impact on the team, just literally if we're counting how much production you have on a single year. And if they run the ball less than they have in the past couple of years, then I think that could happen with Allen this year. Just maybe he doesn't even play any better or worse. It's just, he'll have more yards and more touchdowns because they're just going to be a team that instead of running the ball as much as almost anybody in the league, maybe they're closer to like half the league, half the pack. Or even above average, maybe in the top 10. Marcus is coming up in a moment. While we're waiting for Marcus, you need a couple minutes. FIFA just released, they're doing like last-minute ticket releases, and they were sometimes doing it the day before. They'll do it a week before.
Right.
They just released... They've been withholding tickets, by the way. Like, this was all strategized.
Cool.
Keep the prices extremely high. It's brutal, but it's FIFA. What do you expect? They just dropped a bunch of tickets for the World Cup final, including a few dozen front row final tickets.
Ooh. Man, that's got to be pretty juicy.
This is face value. This is not resale value on SchmubHub. This is face value, $33,000.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Face value.
What
on the ticket?
How do you evaluate that? How does FIFA come up with a number? like that. Let's see how hard can we rip off everyone that wants to watch our games. Okay, what do we think? 35,000? That's too much.
How'd they arrive at that
30,000?
number?
I feel like I want a little more than that. Let's do 32. Like, what? Is that just some guy's favorite number? It's my favorite number. I like that number.
Yeah, let's ask for 33,000 for him. Yeah, see if somebody. I mean, couldn't they make up the rules? Couldn't they just lower the price if nobody buys them in the next week?
True.
Like, let's put them up there for 33,000. If no one buys them in a week, then we'll put whatever.
Yeah.
Not that I was expecting to go to the FIFA World Cup final. Like
Sure.
I was already treating it as I was going to be priced out. So,
right.
And people like me were going to be priced out. It's Super Bowl level prices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's higher. What does a Super Bowl front row ticket cost? Do you think it's 30? Do you think it's 33,000 face value? We'll find an answer to this.
Yeah, let me find an answer to that for you.
Maybe Marcus Mosher knows.
8,500 for premium lower level seats near the 50-yard line.
Whoa,
face.
what a difference.
8,500?
Quick search there.
So 5 times less.
So yeah, it's like 5 times less.
Anyways, let's talk some fantasy. It's a Fantasy Friday. Marcus Mosher now on the Wester hotline from Locked On Dynasty, among, of course, other ventures. We've had him on the Cowboys and such before. So thanks, Marcus, for joining us. You were not planning on going to the FIFA World Cup final, I hope, after seeing what the ticket prices became?
If somebody wants to gift me those tickets, I wouldn't say no. But I don't. Those prices seem a little steep for me right now.
Yeah, just a little bit high. Are you in Dallas, by the way?
I'm not. I'm actually just south of Buffalo. I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania, so about an hour and a half away.
Okay, awesome, perfect. All right, so you were never going. You were never thinking about going to a World Cup game in Dallas or anything. All right.
I mean, again, if somebody wanted to make a nice little offer, yeah, of course.
So you and Michael Fabiano do a great job in the Locked On Dynasty podcast, and you did an episode this week on the AFC East. I want to get into a couple of the Bills with you. We played a clip coming in about DJ Moore and his role on this offense and what that could look like this year. How do you gauge what Moore is for fantasy and what he is for the Bills offense? Because last year was like his worst season, but he is going into, especially him as, I have one dynasty team that has him, and I was like done thinking that he was providing any value for me anymore. And then, oh wait, he's Josh Allen's number one receiver? Maybe I still have something here.
Yeah, and I just don't think Ben Johnson's offense was a great fit for him because they were asking DJ Moore to be kind of the vertical player, making a lot of plays down the field, and he did it, and he didn't really complain. But DJ Moore's always been one of these guys that is really good after the catch. And what you want to do is get him the ball on screens and underneath routes and slants and let him turn a 7-yard gain into a 15-yard gain. And that's why I think he's such a good fit with Joe Brady. And that's why he had the best seasons of his career with Brady in Carolina. Now, how much explosiveness does he still have left? I think we could debate that. But I think from a fantasy perspective, this is a guy that you can funnel a bunch of targets to. And I won't be surprised if he's averaging 5, 6, 7 receptions per game. And if you're in a PPR league, that's the guy that you're going to want in your starting lineup.
Yeah. Is he enough, you think, to really change the dynamic of how often the Bills throw the ball versus pass the ball? They really have become, in the last 3 years specifically, a much more run-heavy team under Brady. And I think there's been a whole few months here of trying to figure out, well, was that Brady taking over and doing that because he thinks that was the best way to do it, or was that a directive of Sean McDermott? And I guess you can't really know that answer, but like last year, they were 18th in the league in neutral pass frequency. And I feel like if Moore's coming in, what are the Bills going to be for that this year? Because somebody has to, those targets got to come from somewhere if he's going to be over 100. And I don't feel like enough guys left to just have that happen naturally without them actually, throwing the ball more than they have.
Yeah, I don't think DJ Moore himself is the type of player that you should change your offense because of, right? I think it's the combination of, hey, is Khalil Shakir going to be healthier this year? Is he finally over that ankle injury? Can Dalton Kincaid stay healthy? Because if all three of those guys are healthy and playing, okay, now I think it does make sense to be a little bit more pass heavy. But do I think they're suddenly going to become
like the 2004 Indianapolis Colts? No, I don't. I think they want to stay balanced, and I think it makes sense. You've got a new defensive coordinator, a lot of moving pieces on defense. I think if you can run the ball, chew up a little bit of clock, let Josh Allen, bail you out on 3rd and longs, that's probably the winning formula for Buffalo, at least in the regular season. So, no, I don't think DJ Moore is suddenly going to make them, top 5 in the NFL in passing attempts.
What do you look at Dalton Kincaid as this year as a fantasy pick? Drafts are starting up. His volume was so low last year, under 50 targets, but was one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient tight end in the league. So how do you handicap what to do with Kincaid this year? Is there a real high ceiling for you because of the efficiency?
He's one of these players that I'm probably just going to be wrong about every year because I absolutely loved him coming out of Utah. And you see the flashes. Like the game he had against Denver last year, I mean, he was almost unstoppable. That was one of the best defenses in the league, and they could not stop him. And there's just very few tight ends in the NFL that have his receiving ability and ability to get open down the field and make plays after the catch. I think Buffalo is always going to be a little bit cautious about not overusing him, and I think that's why you'll still see, Dawson Knox get some work, and Jackson Haas will obviously be on the field a ton in 2 and 3 tight end sets. But Kincaid, to me, is one of these guys. If he can stay healthy, he should be a top 10 fantasy tight end, and I think the ceiling is so much higher than that. I've drafted him in a bunch of drafts already. He's my most owned tight end across all of my dynasty teams. I'm going to continue to bet on the talent because I do think he can be a special receiver.
Is there anything else about the Bills' offense? I think Moore and Kincaid are the top 2 for me for, like, what is that going to be? That could be really great, or maybe it could be a big letdown. What else about the Bills' offense do you feel like, in this context, you don't really know going into this season?
I just don't know who's going to be that number 2 receiver. Is it going to be Khalil Shakir? Is he finally healthy? Is he going to be a guy that can be more than just a screen and underneath player? Do they consider moving him around? I think that's the other part because I do think Shakir can play quite a bit. I mean, we've seen him make some big plays in some big games. I just think there's some more that can be unlocked there. Now, does Joe Brady feel that way? I don't know. But in theory, I think he fits this offense extremely well. And I would not be surprised if we get to week 8, week 9, and it's Khalil Shakir leading this team in targets despite everything they gave up and everything they paid DJ Moore, just because I do think he's a legitimately good football player.
Marcus Mosher with us, Locked On Dynasty, on some draft stuff that's coming up, the Bills, and again, you did the whole AFC East. On a couple of those other teams, are the Jets maybe a fantasy gold mine? Is that may be putting it too strong because it is the Jets, but I don't know. Like, they've got a lot of interesting weapons, and they certainly got better, I think, at quarterback. I mean, I don't know what Geno Smith can do if the line isn't great, but it's not that we're not that long removed from Geno Smith being able to give you fantasy relevant receivers.
The Jets are one of the more fascinating teams in the league because on paper, if you look at their roster outside of the quarterback position, it's pretty good. I mean, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, one of the better running back wide receiver pairings. They drafted Omar Cooper in round 1. They had Mason Taylor last year. They select Kenyon Sadiq. Like, they've got playmakers galore in this offense. They're one of the few teams bringing back all 5 offensive line starters. And I think the defense is going to be terrible. Like, I think it's going to legitimately be terrible once again. So they're going to have to score points. And is Geno Smith completely washed, or was the Raider situation just so bad last year that he had no chance? I think this Jets offense with Frank Wright calling it could be maybe better than what we think, and maybe guys like Omar Cooper and Kenyon Sadiq could be more valuable fantasy assets than we're anticipating.
Right, because isn't that where I want to be? Like, I've got a team whose defense is going to be terrible. They have playmakers, and I guess, right, like, the question is going to be, can Smith do it? Because it was 2 years ago he had 4,300 yards for Seattle. And I feel like if the defense is terrible and you give me 4,300 yards, I'm going to be talking about multiple Jets offensive players that I'm going to be happy with.
Yeah, you want it to be like my Cowboys, right? Like my team is the Dallas Cowboys. Their defense, worst in franchise history. And so they have to score 35 points every game just to be competitive. And that's how you get CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens as wide receiver ones. It's how you get Javonte Williams as a top 10 fantasy running back. Now, the Jets aren't going to be that because they don't have Dak Prescott and they don't have, that many proven playmakers. But I think the Jets could be one of these teams where as long as you don't watch the games, you could be really happy with the fantasy performances, because I think a lot of it might come in garbage time. Like I could see Garrett Wilson getting 110 yards all in the second half because the Jets are down 21 points. Again, don't watch the games for the Jets, but you do want to draft their players.
Marcus Mosher with us on the Wester Hotline. Marcus, before we let you go, do you have any buyer beware guys in drafts this year, players that have been really relevant, even as recently as last year, that you are staying away from?
I'm not drafting A.J. Brown in any single league. Not a dynasty league, not a fantasy league. Generally, these receivers that switch teams at age 28, 29 really struggle in that first year. I also think New England's just going to be really balanced. I think they want to run the ball. I think their defense is going to be good once again. And I think you already saw A.J. Brown slipping a little bit athletically last year. Now, I do think Drake May is going to give him a lot of targets, but Brown is not somebody that I think is going to repeat what he did in Philadelphia. They also signed Romeo Doubs. They drafted Kyle Williams last year. I think he's more of a wide receiver 2 than a wide receiver 1, and I just think he's overvalued in all fantasy leagues right now.
What about Malik Neighbors right now? Like, are you just staying away because there's so much uncertainty 100%. With the injury?
Yeah, and if you read between the lines a little bit between the beat reporters, it sounds like now he might not be ready until week 6, week 7, and that's a no-go for fantasy, right? You can't miss half of the regular season. We have no idea what he's even going to look like when he comes back onto the field. It's a second-year quarterback in Jackson Dart who was up and down last year. I think fantasy drafters would be wise just to completely write off Neighbors this year. I don't see a big breakout coming after that massive knee injury.
Yeah, and I do feel like, I don't know if you would have an example top of mind that goes against this. I feel like whenever you're thinking about the guy in a draft where, I'll just stash him on my IR, he'll be back halfway through the year, and then I'll have him for the playoff run, how often does that actually work?
Not very often. And it's right. Because those guys typically aren't 100% when they get back on the field. And it's really hard to jump into the offense midseason and put up the numbers that you did in the previous year. So I think it's just too much risk, at least for me right now.
Yeah. Last year that might have been Brandon Ayuk, but there was, there might have been other things going on there than just the injury rehab as we're seeing now. Marcus Mosher in the Western Hotline, Locked On Dynasty. Check it out. He does with Michael Fabiano as your drafts are coming up. Put it on your feed. Thanks, Marcus, for joining. Oh, one more thing I wanted to get to with you. Because we've had you on about Brandon Cooks in the past. You watched him a lot in Dallas. And he said yesterday that he wants to be in Buffalo, that he wants to come back here. They have been in contact but have not signed him yet. Do you feel like that is anything relevant at this point? I mean, we had the high-profile, was it a catch, was it an interception at the end of the Denver playoff game, and he had a lot of drop problems with the Bills, but should that be interesting to the Bills, adding him to a receiver core that I feel like it could use one more guy, but they've already added a few this offseason?
Yes, and even if it's not as a big role as a receiver, it's because Brandon Cooks is so well-liked in the locker room. He is such a professional. I know when he was in Dallas, guys like CeeDee Lamb learned a ton from him just in terms of how to practice, how to take care of your body, how to eat right. And that's where I think his value is. Now, you've got, a lot of young receivers on this roster. Having a guy like Brandon Cooks around, I think, could be so valuable. And again, even if he's only your wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5, you want that guy on your team. He's a professional in every sense of the word. I would love to see Cooks back in Buffalo. I think that would be an awesome fit.
Love it. Thanks, Marcus, for the time, and we'll catch up down the road.
Anytime, guys.
Check out Locked On Dynasty, wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube as well. You guys got any drafts coming up?
We've got to plan ours.
We have to do our draft.
I know. I did look the other day, and so in Sleeper, which is the app I use for most of my leagues, I go over to the left, and I got all my leagues listed, and usually it has the draft time, and working title.
Working title is still the name of the league.
Without a logo. It's got the generic blue football on it.
Listen.
And it does say draft time has not been set.
Every morning at 8 o'clock. It's literally clockwork.
It's crazy.
We say we need to work on this, and then don't work on it.
Yeah, because whatever, something I'm on or you're on, and I'm posting something, whatever, something happens, and we're like, oh, we forgot to do the fantasy thing again today.
Yeah.
And we never, ever, ever, ever do it.
No.
We gotta get that under control here.
I am in a dynasty league. I have a rookie draft coming up in the next couple of weeks. I didn't like to hear fading AJ Brown because I traded for him last year.
Uh-oh.
And I don't like to hear that.
You traded for Brown last year?
I traded Alec Imanar and a 2028 third. This guy bid on that, so I was like, fine, I'll take AJ Brown.
Oh, that's
yeah. I swindled.
No offense, but if you're in a league where you can get AJ Brown a year ago for Alec Imanar and a third-round pick, not a serious league.
Yeah, that's
no, I agree.
You should win. You should win every championship.
Yes. I've got Josh Allen as my quarterback. I get to the championship every year and lose.
Oh,
I've got the Josh Allen curse going on right now. It's bad.
That's tough.
I refuse to trade for Josh Allen in one league that I'm in that has a long-standing quarterback curse.
Oh, no.
Andrew Luck, retire. Cam Newton, car crash, never the same.
Oh.
Baker Mayfield, shoulder ripped apart. I moved off that.
And then he got good again?
Yeah. Who'd I trade him for? Carson Wentz.
Oh, no.
Bam, career over.
Jeez.
All right, who'd I move on to from there? Actually trying to remember who I moved on to from there.
Can't be good.
There's someone in between that I'm missing. But ultimately, last year, I finally said enough. So what did I do in October? I will trade a first and a second round pick for Patrick Mahomes.
There you go.
Oh, no.
Ripped his knee apart. Although I guess he's fine for the start of the season.
Yeah.
That's a rough string of.
So
it's
don't
a
worry.
rough string of QBs to
I will
bring in.
never trade.
A little bit of Browns energy
for
over
Josh
there.
Allen.
It's a little bit of Browns energy. Good thing there's glass separating.
Yes, I would like not to be infected.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Browns, we have to take a break because I want to get to World Cup of Joe in the next segment. I've been putting that off, and we finally have time to get to it and have you guys have time to look at it.
It's like our fantasy draft.
Joe said in the update today, what's this story that Shadur Sanders could close the gap with Deshaun Watson?
I guess
What is
so.
that gap? Oh, sorry. You've closed the gap with the worst quarterback we've seen in the last 5 years. So you've done a great job.
Shadur, you're really gaining on the guy that everyone hates more than anyone that's ever played in the league.
Correct. I was going to say, hopefully it wasn't
stinks.
And stinks.
Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't closing the gap on human being status or whatever. You know,
right.
That wouldn't be good.
That would be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, James Palmer from Bleacher Report. He's on the show with Steve Smith a lot.
I mean,
how are you closing the gap right now?
Yeah. Also, no
what
one's
are
doing
you
it
doing?
Where is he? On a beach? And he's throwing footballs around?
Listen, there's not a lot of NFL news. I had to find something, okay? And that was that. That was the headline.
Fair,
that was the
fair
headline
point.
for the day.
I think closed the gap would have been better, like at mini camp or something.
Exactly. Like what? I don't get even what is the GM sitting there comparing their film from their hometown practice videos that they're posting on Instagram, and like, that's what he's basing this off of. Because if that's true, you're in some trouble.
Well, that's what a lot of people base Keon Coleman's track record on last season.
That is true.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what close the gap exactly means.
Yeah, that doesn't really even make sense.
I don't know. All right, when we come back, World Cup of Joe. We got 4 countries, 4 facts. They're going to match them up. The World Cup continues today. Quarterfinals. It's been awesome. The stars are incredible. Mbappe, the goalie, scored yesterday. Go find the back angle from behind him, how he shoots the ball, and you don't see an opening on the net when he lets it go, and he foresees it opening up. It was an incredible goal. We'll get to that when we come back here on WGR. Cooks was talking with Tim Graham, who's, of course, on the air here during the week. And Cook said, obviously, Buffalo is the place I'd love to be. I want to prove that to them and have a full offseason with them. Both sides are figuring things out. We'll see, but hopefully something transpires because I love going to training camp. That's where you build that callus. Which is interesting, by the way, because a lot of veteran players in the league will be like, just call me after camp.
Yeah, right.
I don't need to go through training camp.
He wants the experience.
Cooks wants to go through it, and he wants to be a part of it. And all right, here we go. So let's open the show on wide receiver. Let's do it. It's been far too long on wide receiver. Can the Bills make another move at wide receiver? Could they afford to? Is there an appetite to see one more guy, and a guy like this that you'd have to figure out how much you really liked his tenure here? It statistically was not as good as it probably feels. It felt like it went pretty well because he was getting open a lot, and you saw some juice. You saw some speed that the receiving room did not have otherwise. But in 5 regular season games, he caught 5 passes. Yeah. It was 1 per game. Now, in the playoffs, he caught 5 in 2, but we're not talking about an efficient player at all. Including playoffs, Cooks for the Bills last year on 22 targets had 10 catches for roughly 200 yards. But that's actually not bad with the yardage. Like, you're getting a lot of yards per reception because there's downfield stuff going on with him, but there were also a lot of drops. So I don't know what fans' temperature is on him and also what that would mean to the receiving room. But I think it's a really interesting idea because he multiple times this offseason has openly been talking about, like, he wants to be here. He wants to come back.
Yeah. As soon as the season ended, we played a clip. He was on Good Morning Football talking about Keon Coleman and how he wants to come back to help, like, guide him through and help him out. I don't hate the idea. If he can get down actually catching the football instead of dropping it over 50% of the time on those targets, right? Like, I know it wasn't all drops, but it's either him or it's like Diggs people are talking about. So I think people do have an appetite for another wide receiver in the room. I do. I'd be fine with Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, are you cool with him taking Hardman's spot?
Yeah.
Or Sherfield's spot? Like, that feels like an upgrade, does it not?
Yeah.
And so if you've got one more body that you might trust, if it's 20% more than one of those guys, and you get an injury, then good for you. You're in a better position.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be more than just, well, the defense is better in playoff games. Like, well, late game situations, their defense has been better in playoff games since the calamity.
Well, sure. Yeah, they need a closer. They need a closer on offense, which is I agree with that.
And I would almost take that first. Honestly, before I told you I would take their defense being great. Give me a guy that in the late game situation is going to get it done.
It's going to guarantee you the win.
More Kincaid. It's Santonio Holmes at the end of the Super Bowl against the Cardinals. Allen's going to look for that guy. He's going to be open, and he's going to find him, and they're going to go down the field, and they're going to score on big, important drives.
Yeah. That's definitely very attractive to think about. I agree with that. I said it. I think having a defense that truly can dominate at any point or at a point that matters, and not that they haven't had moments, but a consistent ability to do that, to me, would take a load off of that offense in a way that I think would be meaningful.
For sure, because to both points, if the defense just doesn't even put you in a late game situation like that, you don't even have to worry about having that closer. The defense closes it out early for you.
That's right. There's multiple ways to win.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if they do what you're saying, they don't need my late game heroics. But you could win, by being up and James Cook running out the lead, or you could win by you're down by 3 to Kansas City and you do it the way that I just described.
Exactly.
You could win either way.
It'd be ideal to have both of those things, though. Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's how you win. All right, give me both. Give me both, and I'm the Super Bowl champs.
Yes.
World Cup continues. Today, you have one game. Tomorrow, you have two. Spain and Belgium today at 3 o'clock. Norway, England at 5 tomorrow, and then Argentina, Switzerland at 9. We already did Norway and England yesterday, so
we did.
Today for your World Cup of Joe, a Friday edition, Spain, Belgium, Argentina, and Switzerland.
All right.
Are your 4 countries.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 4 facts, and you're going to match them up.
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
Let's see if we can do better. Well, I mean, we did fine yesterday.
We were fine yesterday. We missed one yesterday.
Yeah, I'm looking for personal performance increase on my end.
I
though.
see.
We're good.
I see.
We're good.
I've been dominating.
You
this
have.
game, so.
75% you got yesterday. That's fine.
Yeah.
Fact number 1. This country is the highest and lowest point in their hemisphere.
Okay.
Fact number 2. Oldest continuously operating restaurant in the world.
Whoa.
Fun fact about that restaurant. The flame they cook on has never been extinguished.
It's the eternal restaurant flame?
That's awesome.
That's insane.
Guinness Book of World Records confirms this is the oldest continuously operating restaurant in the world. Fact number 3. Sundays in this country are for total peace and quiet. It is illegal to mow your lawn, wash your car with a pressure washer, play loud music, drill or hammer, vacuum, glass bottles into a public recycling bin. Illegal. All sorts of things. Quiet Sundays.
Okay.
Smelling something there. Go ahead.
Finally, global epicenter of pigeon racing. They love pigeon racing.
They fly
to
or
the
run?
extent where a pigeon once sold for $1.9 million.
What?
In this country.
Oh, man.
Do they fly or run?
They
I don't
gotta
know.
fly.
They gotta fly.
How do they stay?
You think pigeons are running?
That'd
Yeah,
be crazy.
What do you think this...
They,
what?
They could be trotting on the ground, could they not?
Wait. I want to make sure that he's not right before I rip to shreds the idea that he thought pigeon racing would be the pigeons like waddling down like an alley or something. No, it's they fly.
They fly.
They fly. Of course they fly.
Yeah, of course they fly.
I don't know. Birds hop. I thought it could be interesting. Keeping them in a line or a lane or something.
No,
but-
they race. They race.
Yeah.
Long distance races can go up to 1,200 kilometers.
Whoa.
I guess they know where to go. I mean, there's mail
they're
carrier pigeons.
Yeah,
like-
mail carrier, messenger pigeons. Like, that's the thing. They know what's up.
Yeah.
They know how to take directions.
I think we got to get back to that.
They got a little
Mail
notepad.
carrier
I
pigeons.
feel like that'd be kind of cool.
One of the other facts I passed on for one of these countries is one of these countries tried to train cats to deliver mail instead of pigeons.
Wow.
It didn't work.
What do you know?
Okay.
Which country did that? No, I might not tell you that because that might give
Might
this
give
away
away.
somehow.
Might get, some cross.
Although I'm not even sure it was the same country. It might have been different.
That's all right.
Yeah, the cat mail disaster, as it is called, of 1879. Of course, everybody knows about that. That never came across your YouTube travels?
No, I never got to the
cat mail disaster?
Cat mail disaster.
So anyways, you have oldest continuously operating restaurant in the world. You have Sundays being for peace and quiet, legally.
Right.
Highest and lowest point in their hemisphere, and then the global epicenter of pigeon racing.
So, Callie, here's my thought. I want to think that Spain has the oldest continuously operational restaurant.
I like that. That's kind of where I was leaning toward for that. Makes sense. One of the older countries.
See, it just sounds romantic to me.
Like they've got one spot
Yeah.
people go see. Sure, I'll take a shot on it. Go ahead.
I like that as our first guess.
Spain with the eternal restaurant flame.
You are correct.
Nice. Right away, Owen.
Love that.
Right away.
It has been operating since its founding in 1725. So 300, just reached the 300th anniversary, and it has kept its original flame burning continuously.
Wow.
Wow. That is really...
They claim to. And listen, Guinness Book of World Records confirmed it. They have a pretty... We've learned throughout this game that they have a pretty strict process.
Yeah.
So they seem to sign off on this. They've had the same flame burning for 300 years in their restaurant.
That's pretty impressive. Okay.
Sabrino de Botan in Madrid, by the way.
Okay.
Is the name of it.
I'm feeling Switzerland for the quiet Sundays.
I was thinking Belgium.
Were you? Yeah. Maybe. We'll go with you. You've had the hot hand. I've been the teeter-totter one. I don't know what's going on here.
Do you have any reasoning behind that I need to hear before we
other than
proceed?
It feels like something Switzerland would do? No.
It's a gut.
It's a gut feel.
It's gut versus gut.
Gutalytics.
My gut's bigger.
Mike
so
Tomlin punting from the 45 from the opponent's 40-yard line.
Yeah.
We'll go with Owen. We'll see.
I want to get this one. I want to go perfect here.
So you're going with which one?
Belgium
for quiet Sundays. Incorrect.
No.
I think it might be Switzerland.
It's got to be Switzerland then.
It is Switzerland.
Oh.
It is illegal. There's a noise ordinance in Switzerland on every Sunday.
I kind of knew that.
You mow
from
your
somewhere.
lawn, cops are showing up.
How is there not one for Belgium too?
I mean, let me check.
Oh no! If there's
this could be any country though. Like,
there's no way that they have it too. That'd be stupid. All right, so mountains. Argentina or Switzerland? Like
has anyone
both of those
Googled
have
before
mountain
Sundays?
It'd be either
Belgium.
Argentina or Belgium.
Right.
Yeah, Belgium Sundays are observed as nationwide days of rest, but there's nothing in here about noise or anything.
Okay. Well, whatever.
So we have, what are the last two clues?
It's
pigeon racing epicenter, and this country is the highest and lowest points in their hemisphere.
Both these places have mountain ranges, which is messing me up. I wish they didn't.
Who do we think pigeon races over 1,200 kilometers? Does that feel more Argentinian or is that Belgium? It's a 50-50 toss.
It really is tough. I don't lean one way or the other, I don't think.
I feel like Belgium might pigeon race. That's gut, though. I don't know.
I like that. Let's do Belgium pigeon race and Switzerland. Switzerland's got the mountains more than I think Belgium does.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
You mean Argentina?
Argentina.
Sorry, yeah, Argentina.
Belgium is the global epicenter of pigeon racing. They love it.
Bang.
They love it. Again, a $2 million pigeon.
That's unbelievable. I still can't believe that.
That's crazy.
And Argentina in the southern hemisphere is the highest point at 22,000 feet and the lowest point 344 feet below sea level.
Wow.
I had two other hints on those countries that I thought would be too easy.
Let's hear them.
Can we hear them?
Argentina has penguins without ice.
Okay, yes, I did know that.
And Belgium, they stopped doing this, I guess, like maybe even recently. Maybe they stopped in the 90s. But Belgium, for a long time, used to serve beer in school cafeterias. Be called table beer. It was very low alcohol, 2.5%, considered healthier alternative to tap water. I feel like if I had thrown that in there, Belgium and beer are too easy, right?
Yes, 100%.
100%. But
I wonder if it's because of the tap
in school
water.
cafeterias.
Yeah, what's wrong with the tap water?
Might be the pipes,
I don't know.
how old they are, or
There's
something
gotta be
like
something
that.
wrong with it because that's
Non-potable.
potable. I think.
Potable?
There you go.
Same
Say
diff.
that one.
Same diff. It's
Yeah,
not the same
whatever.
way.
Isn't it like in Italy, like you start drinking wine, little sips when you're like 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like
It's
that.
the same vibe.
I mean,
middle
the
school
US
table beer.
The U.S. is like one of the last places you start drinking.
Yes.
Canada's 19. I think it's 18
Oh, yeah.
in a lot of Europe. Like, it's not a... It's very weird that we wait as long as we do here.
Yeah.
Why do you think... Yeah, whatever.
I swam in high school. We had a German exchange student who was on the team with us. And we were all 16 at the time. And he's like, he was getting upset that he couldn't get a beer in the U.S. Because over there, that was a regular thing with dinners, everything, right? So it's like... It's just funny how it is around. Yeah, that's why we all go to Canada.
I have an image of like a 12-year-old having like a freak out in a restaurant yelling at a waiter because you're like, you won't bring me my beer. I just think that's really funny.
I'm excited. It's a sad thing the World Cup of Joe is going to be coming to an end soon.
75% you guys got again? Yeah, I know we'll have semifinals still.
And then
that's 4 more, and then you'll have the final. You can figure out a way to do the final.
You got to hit us with like some really
tough ones,
crazy or maybe it's multiple fact. I don't know, whatever.
I actually have a question, Joe. And this is
what's that
for anyone out there running a World Cup pool? This is a question for everybody. 3rd place playoff. If a team wins that, are we getting points?
That's an excellent question. I think the answer is no.
Oh man. Come on. Come on.
All right, you know what though? Because I'm a believer in democracy.
We'll put it to a vote.
We'll vote in the chat.
Because I have not I am running a World Cup pool here at work. And the rules were I wanted to make it as simple as possible. I don't need to do anything crazy. Like 3 points for a win or advancing. Because, sometimes soccer does weird things with scoring where, the final was 0-0. But then the penalty kicks decided, whatever. Because I did it that simple, it was 3 points for advancing, which to me would mean, I guess you're not advancing if you win the final either.
No.
So
winning
I'm a believer in democracy. I will put it to the group and ask, do you want to award 3 points for the third place? But see, now this is where I've messed up as a leader of this because we're so far into it, now bias has arrived.
Right. I need them to not count because I have France, and that's it.
Really what I should do is I should only allow teams that are eliminated to vote.
No.
That's really
come on.
That's really what
I need. Thank you. Because there's a scenario, I don't know, I haven't done the math on this new scenario, but if
it's between us.
If it's a France-Argentina final and I win it with France and he wins the bronze medal game and beats me, I am going to beat him up.
My gut
physically, I am going to hurt him.
I'm mostly with it. My gut is that no, the third place game should not count to anything. What are the tickets for that?
The bronze medal? The
25. 25K.
That is the third place playoff. Is going to be where? I don't know. Doesn't say. They are having it, right?
Tickets, third place game are available Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Right?
Miami, okay.
Currently start around 1,030 to 1,150.
I mean, I guess you are getting like premier teams probably. Like Messi or Mbappe playing in it is realistic.
Right.
Yeah, it's at Hard Rock
5
Stadium.
p.m.
July 18th from $1,123 on SeatGeek.
That is a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ticket prices, though, to watch a third place game. $1,000 to watch a third place game?
That's crazy.
I mean, they're top 4 teams, are they not?
True.
But they're not playing for anything.
They're not playing for,
Who remembers third place?
Right.
I mean,
especially in this. Like, if there was a bronze medal on the line for this game,
like an actual ceremony,
I might have to accept that, like, that game should count. But this game doesn't mean anything.
Your last 4 third place finishes. Croatia, nobody remembers it. Belgium, Netherlands, Germany. These are not like facts about these. Like
No.
I didn't know that Belgium had a third place finish.
No.
I actually did know the US had a third place finish in 1930.
Right.
That's just because every time you see, hey, what's their highest finish ever? It's third. But it's like,
before there were
more than 10 teams playing.
Yeah.
Or 18 teams playing, whatever the number ended up being.
I'm going to have to do a little bit of campaigning, it seems.
Campaigning.
This is big. This
could decide
This is huge.
This could decide it.
Well, I mean,
both me and Joe.
It really might not end up mattering because, honestly, no, it will. Because if Joe, if you have Norway lose,
then I'm done.
You're not done, but you would need a very specific outcome. Like, you're going to need... No, maybe you are done.
I'm done.
You need Belgium to win the World Cup.
Yeah, no.
See ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need like
happening.
a France-Argentina final that France wins.
Right.
That's what I need.
Yeah, Joe, you would need Belgium against Argentina in the final, which I'm not even sure if that can happen. Are they on the same side of the bracket? No, they might be on opposite sides.
Yeah,
all right, the only way you win if Norway loses is Belgium beating Argentina in the final.
I'm going to be the biggest Belgium fan if that happens, so we'll see.
Extendo Sports, when we come back, we'll wrap up the week and get you off to the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show coming up on WGR. They wanted Devontae Adams, right? Like they were big game hunting a receiver at the deadline. But same thing, like you got to the deadline and it was, I didn't do enough here. I don't have the room I want. And I think part of what happened in the last 2 years that got you to that point was their reliance on Keon Coleman. Their role that they had given Keon Coleman without him really earning it. And in both campaigns, Coleman left you wanting or just wasn't available. Year one, it was the injury, and then they didn't like how he came back from the injury. Last year, it was he was late all the time, and then he was getting suspended by the team, and then it was happening again, and they couldn't get him to take it seriously on like at least time management, if not more than that. But he hadn't been playing well either. And it's, okay, well, 2 years in a row, this guy we thought was going to contribute in a big way for us and be a legitimate starting receiver for us. Well, that's not happening. So now we have to go do something else.
Right.
And this year, I don't think that reliance on Coleman is the same going into the year. That is the big key difference when I look at the Cooks idea or any idea that would happen later on down the year. It's kind of like Levi a little bit for this with the Sabres.
Yep.
The Sabres, for the first 2 years Devin Levi was here, just kind of gave him the keys to the car. Like, this is yours. Go ahead. Oh, now he can't do it? Now, okay, well, they at least had Luukkonen. So, like, I've got something else to turn to. But the third year, it's, okay, I need to plan. This hasn't worked 2 times. I need to plan otherwise. I don't need to get rid of the guy. I don't need to dump the guy. I can hang around and see if he becomes something for a little bit, and then if not, I could trade him, which they did. But year 3, I'm not giving you the keys again. And that, to me, is what the Bills are doing with Coleman. Like, you can hang around here, and we'll wait to see if there's more than what we've seen already. But we are not going into the year relying on you in the way that we have in the first 2 years.
Right.
All right, heading into the weekend, not quite as hot as it was last week or early in the week, but still a little warm. I've got my tournament that I'm hosting tomorrow at Ironwood Golf Course. We already full, so sorry if anybody wanted to play next year. Hit us up. You can get in. But we are taking donations still. All goes to the Sarcoma Alliance. You can find all the details at stubbsclassic.com. Raising money for the Sarcoma Alliance, which helped my friend Ryan a lot last year when he was going through his fight with osteosarcoma, and we're paying it forward to them. So any donation would be greatly accepted. And there's a little Venmo in the top corner of the YouTube stream. If you're watching along, you can send it to my Venmo, and it'll become a part of the one big donation that we're doing. Or you can get more details. You can find out how to do it there at stubbsclassic.com. And we'll have some fun tomorrow. Nothing crazy rule-wise. I thought about that, but let's talk. You don't want to make it too complicated the first go-around. Yeah, I'm always thinking about new rules. I thought about one the other day that you wouldn't do in a scramble, because scramble, once somebody makes the putt, it's over, and you all make the same putt. But some sort of golf game where once somebody makes a putt, every ball inside that putt is now good. So, like, we're all playing golf.
Right.
It'd have to be some sort of game, I think, because, like, your score would be so fluky otherwise. We're all playing golf. Owen makes a 25-footer.
Yeah.
Now my 15-footer is good.
Right.
And Joe, your 9-footer is good. Like,
I don't mind that.
But it would have to be some, like, it'd just be best ball, maybe.
Right. Right. Yeah,
best ball with a twist.
I like that. That's interesting. We'll see.
We'll come up with more golf games. All right. Stay tuned. Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show on the way next. Give him a call, 803-0550, and we'll talk to you on Monday here on WGR.